That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Fine with it. We just look at it.
Great investigation. Okay, right now it's 100 or so. So, yeah. Yeah, we currently. I'm excited at least it's not the old school way that just turns on the paper. That's the kid. That's it.
Hey, I sent you an email earlier.
Stuff like arches on the road. They should be on the website. I say should. So we take blue out there. Yeah, it's on. I try to publish it as much as possible.
No, I saw it. I was very happy.
Yes, sir. I wanted to move just in case,
Oh, we just got that, thank you.
Mind if I place it here?
Your papers were.
Is this just going to be a PowerPoint? It'll be provided afterwards, right?
Yeah.
To be oriented this way. The fact that it's inside.
I didn't. This notice on the was one. And
There'll be people who are probably 50 hours, 60. Their compensation.
I live with a remodel. You're gonna do this every. I can move back further.
We're gonna have a couple items for you guys. We got a couple minutes. Pretty much, you guys finished already. All right. I can ask for who have a call on last time here.
Good evening, we have Sarah there with CDS on.
Sarah there. Anybody else want to call in? All right. I think I just need to call this. Right, so this is the week for supervisors, meeting development district, be held Wednesday, April 14th, 2021, at 6:30 p.m. Being held at the 7 Clubhouse located at 2910 Sports Circle, Wesley Chapel, Florida 33544. Official start time is 6:31 p.m. Present representing forum, we have Jack Christensen here, Joshua Green here, Tom Rath here, Andrew Mendenhall here, John Grace here. Present staff, we have Rebecca Barr, Teresa Flores, John Gentilia, myself, John Nielsen, with district management. We also have Sarah Darrell from staff person 9 with district management. And I think that's it for district staff. begin with audience comments this time. Any audience members here wishing to make comments to the board? John, we'll start with you.
Sure, thank you. So after our meeting last time with the talking about the budget, there were a couple more items that people requested from the residents of the community. Two people brought up the idea of the futsal, roller hockey, and lacrosse court to possibly replace this area over here by the basketball court, the volleyball area. Again, only two people asked for it, but there may be a larger audience in the community that want it. Similarly, pickleball courts. There were 5 members of the community that called it out. I know it was discussed at the last meeting that pickleball may be something that residents want. So if that can be thought of, whenever the budget is being discussed. I brought this up earlier regarding the published agendas. Every time the agenda is published, it's only the agenda itself. It doesn't have the tabs. So whenever residents are trying to follow along during discussion, those aren't available. So if those can be made available in its entirety, the whole package, it would help the residents be able to follow along with these meetings. Next, we started talking about the playground last time, specifically the one for the community out here. But then I started driving around and looking at all the other villages, and I noticed that several of them have either reached or are going to be reaching their lifespans. I have some pictures that I can distribute electronically if necessary, but they're in disrepair. There are places where the rubber has now separated from the metal is exposed and rusting, and that's throughout several of the playgrounds that are around. So I'm just asking if there's a way that either we can allocate the current budget that's associated with maintenance and repairs, or if we can add additional, or if the board can start allocating additional budget to the replacement of the parks that need them the most.
You have that list you can share with John?
Yes, sir.
That'd be good, John. I'm pretty much aware of this. You can share your list.
Yep.
That'd be great.
Yes, sir. And then finally, with the CDD website, there's still a lot of information on there that's rather old. Whenever you go to the homepage, it makes reference to the CDD meeting in December 11th is canceled. The resort pool is temporarily closed for repair from August 3rd, and the water slide is temporarily closed. In addition, there's references to the clubhouse or the amenities under the About Clubhouse that rather than being held under the CDD, it's now represented under Seven Oaks Light. So I just wanted to bring those up and see if the information that's currently being switched over to Facebook pages or the Facebook page for the clubhouse, if that's going to include the same information like the management staff bios, amenities, forums, clubs, and classes, or if some of that information will still reside on the CDD website. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, John.
Yes, sir.
Just doing a couple of stuff for the budget. Obviously, staff knows about the request for futsal, roller hockey, and pickleball. So we'll just allow you guys to bring those up during the budget discussion. For the agendas, it was specifically, the decision was specifically made to shrink it just to the minimum agenda pages and not include the hundreds of pages that are in the packet. They are available at request if somebody wants them. The reason why we don't put them on the website is because it's costly from a conversion perspective. So we specifically excluded that cost. So if somebody doesn't want them, they can request them, they're available. But from the website perspective, having them on there requires quite a bit of cost.
But just the sub lines on the budget.
Yeah, the first 2 pages.
That's the first 2 pages we could provide, expand it that much, can't we?
The first 2 pages are already on. He's requesting the full pack, the one that we're looking at. Again, completely available, anyone can have them. This is from the website perspective. It is a lot of cost, so we specifically made it conscious decision not to post that. Playground, neighborhood repairs, be part of that, right? We'll get that. As far as I'm aware, we don't need any significant budget money for that. I mean, we have the 2 playgrounds that we've already requested in the budget cycle this year. Actually, I had 1 request, but we're cycling for 2. And then you see the standard budget allowing those repairs, right?
Yeah, the standard repairs.
Yeah.
Individual piece replacements, like full replacements is what we're not worried about.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, perfect. And then the website will be a separate topic we'll discuss in a little bit, but definitely the concept of the old data is definitely a problem. And it's something that I'm going to discuss further.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Do any other members of the audience that want to make comments before this time?
I was looking for an update on the speed bump. Specifically within, I think Josh, you called the S curve between Copper Leaf and Knoll Point. I know we had kind of touched, someone had requested a speed limit sign be placed in that area. I just noticed that it's still quite a challenge, so I was wondering if there was an update on that. So I did notice the speed table signs being put in, but there wasn't one within that stretch of road.
Yeah, so there was some posts that were put out about the signs have to be there with one flag for, was it 2 weeks, John? Legally 2 weeks before we put the speed bump in. So it's a self-imposed wait time that we are abiding by, and I think they're on track. We would have signage coming out next week.
The signs actually come tomorrow.
Tomorrow, and then we have speed bump.
So all the signage will come tomorrow, and then the humps and the striping will go in. Now, I haven't got that exact date from my contractor yet, but I'm hoping it will be next week. But I don't know yet, because I haven't heard from my contractor. So,
We're soon. We're days away. We're soon.
Okay, but it hasn't been moved. There's definitely going to be one within that stretch.
no.
Yeah. So from the S curve perspective, it is going to be at the Knoll Point intersection. I decided to put it there, and not one in between Knoll Point and the Mystic intersection.
Okay.
Right now, they're just virtual speed bumps.
That's not to say that the board has decided to or not to put in additional ones, right? The way that we've currently done it is the ones that are approved, or I want to call it a test, because it's kind of a test, right? If they're successful, we need them in additional intersections, you evaluate that. But at this point, we haven't had a discussion about adding the additionals or not adding additionals.
Okay.
But the location is, it will be closer to Knoll.
Okay. Do you expect a speed limit sign to be placed in that area, just as a reminder?
There was a request, I don't know.
Yes, they're actually already. So they'll come.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Is the general time frame like a month or two?
it's about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 3 weeks.
It was next month. By the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further audience comment at this time? All right, so we're gonna rearrange a couple items here as far as the board of the agenda goes. Just moving some business items up front, related to bonds. Something sick. With, business item A, consideration of resolution 2021-05, bond resolution. Misty, is there? I guess before we start that, Sarah, I have Sarah on the line. Is there any updates or changes that you want to alert the board to prior to adopting the resolution?
No, I think the changes, general overview, very successful recommendations for the district. I'm not sure if the district, the board was able to receive the summary of recommendation results. But in short, we were able to cut the rate on the 11A1 and A2 bonds by more than half. In 14 copies were provided for the 2.355% rate, which ultimately resulted in a net present value savings of 1.14 million. Or 21%, and that would translate to an annual assessment reduction to the residents in the various multifamily and commercial office units within the district. Scott and we will touch on the annual assessment reduction, but overall very successful refinancing.
Thank you. I think everyone's really looking forward to that one. Scott, so you have some numbers, generality for the audience to understand what this will do for their assessments? Perfect, thank you.
Anya, I think I heard you calling on the line here. I assume that's you. If you have any, anything change lines or anything worthy of? That's what we're doing.
No, I was just calling in case I'm
Okay.
Thank you.
Or do you have it?
For tonight, just if there's an update on the road schedule.
I have on the road. It looks like we're coordinating to have option on site probably for about 3 weeks, really working the whole weekend. Now it's their role.
All right, thanks, Tanya. Will you sync with Teresa to make sure that we get good notifications and notices out to residents?
Absolutely. As soon as I know everything is order, briefly, consider notification.
Okay. How much driveway interruption are you expecting?
Things have changed quite a bit, I think you will find, you will be parking on the street, they will change the people around, they will have people park on the street, so I think you'll find, a lot less interruption on your right, say, 12 hours, out of the driveway, you know, back in the evening, and right like that.
Okay. So we will have portions of the road closed, but not overnight, the expectation.
That's correct, that's correct.
Okay.
Thanks,
You're welcome, John, good evening.
Thanks, Tanya.
Let's Scott.
Actually, let's have this, few words, we'll go over your agenda.
Do the bond resolutions, that comes before, I So, I'm Misty Taylor, I'm Brian Morales, serving as bond counsel district action application for the bonds. As you know, you previously approved the term sheet from Hancock, and we prepared all the documentation for bonds in conformance with that term sheet. So this bond resolution authorizing the issuance of the bonds, the par amount ended up being $6,100,000. So we had to enter into a trust indenture with your current trustee, where that's a fifth supplemental trust indenture. We prepared that, that's attached to the resolution. And it appoints your trustee, it authorizes the funding of the bonds funding, and basically authorizes all the chairman to sign documents. We did so right before the meeting started, and funding is scheduled for Friday. So
Excellent.
we're in good shape. So we just need a motion to approve the resolution.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, then I'll briefly summarize my report, and the next got a resolution which will formally adopt the methodology report. I believe you have this on your tablets. I think it's separate from your agenda,
Second tab on your,
but I can just briefly walk you through it. The report's been updated from the last time that I presented, just to incorporate all of the final numbers that Sarah and Andy else was able to obtain. So I'll briefly walk you through the tables that have changed from the last time I was here. Table 3, which gives you an aggregate sources and uses for the two the bonds, the A1 and the A2. As Missy said, the total par amount is $6,116,000. The average coupon rate came in at 2.3674%. Our maximum annual debt service, which is the total amount which you'll need to collect on an annual basis to make your debt service, is $564,004. The next table, then, we break it out between the A1 and the A2 bonds. Table 4 is the sources and uses specific to the A1 bonds, and the par amount on that is $2,867,000. The amount that we'll need to collect on an annual basis is $264,452. The next table is specific to the A2 bonds, par amount of $3,249,000, and the amount we need to collect on an annual basis is $299,635. Table 6, 7, and 8 simply takes those annual amounts and will gross it up to 2% for Preston County budget cost and 4% for the statutory maximum annual discount amounts. And then the equipment tables are tables 9 and 10. This gives you our total final annual assessments that will be applicable going forward starting the next fiscal year. Table 9 is broken down for the A1 bond, which is all the residential units, which will recognize an annual savings of 18.35%. So that's a great savings for your homeowners. They're subject to these bonds. which will range from a reduction currently for the townhomes that are paying $318 all the way down to $259. And our largest single family currently is paying at $954 all the way down to $779. Once again, now being reflected next fiscal year. Table 10 is for the commercial and multifamily areas, and they'll be receiving a reduction on an annual basis of 23, a little over 23%. Any questions regarding that? If not, then the next resolution.
So behind tab 4, you have resolution 2021-06. It adopts the final report that Scott just presented, as well as allows the district to update its meeting book that references the original set of resolutions, as well as the finding of fact that going back only to 2001, that's what the capital project funded, the 2001 project. So again, supplements those original resolutions, in fact, we didn't have to have a public hearing, it was great to save the district time as well as money. And this resolution allows the district to update its lien book in the future, and I'll be reporting the notice of lien to reflect that. That way, it reflects the updated bonds rather than the 2011 bonds. So it shows up on the power in the future. Have any questions? If there are any, if not, I recommend motion to approve.
Move. Motion by Jack, moved by Josh, all board member Chadwick, what's that? Aye. Any opposed?
Just a couple other items real quick, if you don't mind. One of the requirements with Hancock Whitney was to establish your operating account with them. So that just lets you know that account has been opened. They have not transferred the funds yet. There was a requirement prior to closing that the account had to be open, so that's been taken care of. Also, all of the investment funds that you authorized in the prior meeting have been already transferred over to class. So those funds will stay there. We will have to update the paperwork though. So now it will be tied to your new operating account and your information.
And just for the members in the audience, just clarify when we talk about all the savings, right? Especially for budget season right now. The amount that is assessed from the CDD every year is combined with two components. One is the bond amount, and the other is the O&M. The O&M is what we are talking about in this 3 to 4 month window of keep maintaining 7 Oaks. The bond that we just talked about is the bond portion of that, right? So when residents hear that they're going to be saving this, there's two components. One is it's only applicable for people that are in that bond, which I believe is power line south. Bonds, right?
Yep.
So anyone on power line south, they could be in either one of those, and they can contact the district to find out specifically if they're interested in coming in. They will either receive an 18.35% reduction or a 23.22% reduction just on the bond portion of their assessment this year. Still good money, for a piece of money that we're talking about, but I don't want to downplay it, but an average of 20% on that portion of it. The O&M portion is what we'll be discussing here. It has not been finalized. So, just make sure nobody's running home saying they just got a 20% discount on CDD fees. But it did definitely have a discount, power and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for listening. Appreciate it.
Board, there's 5 consideration of the discrimination agreement. This is your disclosure reports for compliance and being updated based on the new bond issuance. It's actually going to be less costing the district less than it was for less requirements of the new bonds. So unless we're going to be concerned with saving money, which will approach.
Motion to approve.
Josh, all board members in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
For those fees that account for our element,
Correct, yes.
and those have already been updated.
That hasn't been updated. So that will be updated. I think that being finalized, we can go back to our normal board operation here, our agenda. Beginning with our operations manager update.
So you can see the list that I provided to you. One thing on the first one under landscape, the village entrance enhancements. There's a picture that I gave you there of the entrance of Fairgate. So we're looking to make this our first big change of the entrance. And you can see from the photo, Fairgate pretty much. There's a couple of entrances that are similar to that. We decided to start there and just make a big change. I want to make us aware that this is what we're going to do and have a board blessing on this before I just make the change. That I hear about. Because it will be pretty drastic. What you see there, putting together the plan now, just that massive bush is going to go away.
Is anyone staying, are you gonna sculpt any?
We'll pull it off and then we'll redesign it. Where you can see more of the sign and things like that. And we'll just make it a little more human. Many of these entrances haven't changed for 50 years. Just Fairgate's kind of.
That's a very large space.
Sorry.
Not all neighborhoods have such a large amount. of space.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Definitely very colorful.
I'm just making you aware that there'll be some changes. On my list, though, the only other updates I have is in the crosswalks. The third line of the 2-week delay on the sign installation. I did hear earlier that they will be in tomorrow. All the signage will be in place for the crosswalks tomorrow, which will allow us to move forward with the speed hump installation and the striping. Once those are done, then the flashing signs will come in. They're all just waiting to be put in. So that'll be fairly easy. We're not putting up flashing signs, we are striping. We want the impression that there is a crosswalk there yet. It's not there. So that's all falling into place. The only other update, unless you have any other questions, you can see that we're going to go forward with our common rehab, which we've already discussed. Some things have already been done. The pergola rebuilds, the Knoll Point pergola is complete. So that one's finished. That's all for this. There's only 3 pergolas left in the entire community to be rebuilt. So that's all just moving. Do you have any other questions on those 4? Yeah, that's an add-on. So that one is the shoregrass pond access issue. It's been going on for a while. Homeowners Association is aware of it. Amy has filled me in on, they have sent letters to this particular homeowner. They've gotten, I guess, a little pushback. I don't know the exact story, but what's happening is that this pond that is behind the home, which you can see is highlighted, the only access to that pond is through that easement where the homeowner has put up a fence. We no longer have access. So the pond is deteriorating in its condition. And I guess it's at this point to where the request is, can the CDD and SOPA work together to resolve this, or can it be resolved?
Good question. So it is on an easement that we have to.
Yes.
Okay, so in other districts where I've had this happen, we've given it a date certain that they have to do their fence. And we have gone out 81 fences really. So obviously the first quarter
Yes.
is vague, but I mean, I don't think we have to negotiate this. We have a right to that.
That's why.
Yeah, that's, in fact, just today, we have another, our former board, Jerry Cruz, is putting in a fence on his, between he and his neighbor that has a drainage swallow, which is an easement. And he already knows that that is his responsibility. If at some point in time, we have to go in there to clear some drainage back in the woods or something, that he'll be responsible to remove and replace if he chooses to put back in. But he's crossed his fingers that no one happens. And that's pretty standard. We do allow people to build over easement with that caveat. And we put it in the records so that it'll go along with the deed if they sell the house to the next neighbor. They know they're buying a liability here.
Yeah. But we certainly have people that accused with, we even had police, actual defense company, nice like fence down on their property, out of the easement.
So if you look like based on our property is, if they put it all in the bump up against it, we still have enough room.
Well, there's a 20-foot spread between the homes, and we have a 10-foot easement in that, so they have to go to 5 and 5. And they have a fence beyond their 5 line. The neighbor in that photo, you can see, to the left of the fence, has a shrub line, you kind of see it in the back.
Yeah.
Kind of technically speaking, 5 foot of that shrub and 5 foot of that fence, is eating up our 10-foot easement. So really, it should be both homeowners that will move back. 5 foot.
But John, I'm just looking at the map a little bit. Tell me what the easement, where did you confirm we have the easement?
The storm drain where the arrow is right there.
Yep.
Connie has confirmed. That is definitely an easement, which kind of simplifies pretty much every storm drain in the community is an easement to us.
Gotcha.
But Tom did confirm that it is already.
What do
Well,
we
that's
have?
what I was saying, I think to Tom's question, I was calling property section, it looks, the satellite image is never perfect, but it does look fairly close to the property line. So that was my first question, that's why I want to confirm whether we have that property line. A lot of times for the ponds, what usually ends up being is 15 feet up to the property line is our easement. This is in between homes, it's a little different than the storm drain, so.
Yeah, that's the only access to that pond.
Okay, but what if the fence were taken down, what would you do to go back there?
Yeah, well, it's not whole, but it's just pond maintenance. The pond contractor uses that easement to access that pond, just to treat the pond. About a year ago, the fence didn't exist. And it was no problem, right? We got back through there. We maintained the pond. The homeowner put in a pool, they put a fence. And now, of course, we're just. No, that's all homeowner responsibility. All the mowing is homeowner responsibility. It's just the pond is our responsibility.
It looks like it's dry now.
No, there's actually water there, but it's kind of similar to that photo. If you go back to that, it looks all green.
Is he claiming that when you put the fence up, you're not notified?
No, that's between the HOA and. I couldn't tell you.
I wonder if we try to.
Yeah, it's my understanding he did the HOA approved it. But I would tell you verify everything or so.
So here's my other concern, that we Jack just hit on a little bit, but if we have them take down that fence, this isn't like a one-time temporary thing. You're saying that's the access, you need to get back there.
That is.
And so we would be putting that homeowner in a situation where they gotta redesign the fence a little bit, right? They gotta shrink closer to the property, and lose that fence line on the side, take the fence out completely. Back it into that corner or something, but it would be something pretty significant.
Yeah.
I think we can all appreciate the fact somebody come in and move your fence.
I think easements called not to. It's put on the plan. But we're gonna have.
Yeah.
So, turn out 29 foot.
Well, one more thing, sorry, just on that, is you had said it's the only pond access. If I look on the satellite view here, it's on Spillbrook. There are homes on the north side of that, what appears to be a pond. And their fences do appear to have a gap in between them.
You can't access that pond from that direction. It's a swamp.
Isn't that the pond? Right, satellite image, but maybe.
See, it's a swamp.
No, because the possible north access has already been considered, but it was
So
impossible.
they know you think that's the pond. But
That's
isn't-
right.
Isn't that? Is that not?
This year, yes.
Yeah. We'll have.
That's not the pond. Ponds.
So it's two ponds.
Yeah, that is correct.
Two ponds separated.
That is correct. Yeah, there's no other access from the north. We actually try to consider that.
Okay, so thank you for clarifying that. I guess this would be a good example of these residents up here had the easement between there, right? And so, whether they put the fence there so we can access to somewhere, really did, but not,
Yeah, and so, did you just say there's 12 feet on either side?
According to the plat.
So, to be fair, I would also ask for the bushes. Otherwise, that's gonna make it.
Yeah, and my question with the gentleman with the fence, I mean, the fence company
whole file on this particular subject. They're aware of it, and they try to rectify it.
So, well, I don't think Sophie's gonna be able to.
I'll make a motion that the maid work with Tanya, she can provide an exhibit to him of the area. He can reach out to both residents, advising them that they need to move off the easement within, I'll let him indicate it's appropriate. Typically 30 days, but typically I recommend the first letter would be sent from manager or staff. That way it's a little bit more friendly, and if I need to, I can set up a follow-up with it. It sounds like staff's already reached out to us.
So,
Okay, so that's fair.
It's the same resident owning the home, allowing the mowing to go back there, or is this a new resident that came in and then built a fence, hadn't had the experience of it?
I couldn't tell you. I don't believe it's a new resident. I think it's the original, or, a long time owner.
This isn't a scenario where we just recently lost access.
No, yeah, it's been going on there.
So, and how much space do you need?
Well, I mean, it's a 4.5, typically it's 10 foot is plenty, for the vehicle to go through, but there are times when the vehicle carries extra equipment, so, I can't just have a 5-foot slot.
I'm just saying, I asked because we're gonna tell them that, the homeowner on the left, the bushes need to be cut X feet and the fence needs to be moved X feet. I think that's fair enough for us to tell them how much specific feet we need.
Yeah.
Because you said it's 22 between the homes.
Well, I think Rick just verified.
Well, he said the easement's 12.5 feet on each side.
But did it say it's 25?
You're right, combined with 25, so
25.
Go out on each side.
So are you saying the homeowner has 0 feet on their side of the easement?
So, again, depends on where the property is, and this is not showing you where the home line is. So that's the lot line right there. The easement is on top of the lot line itself, so the home usually is a 10-foot buffer between the property line and the home. So obviously, in this case, they give 2.5 feet between the home, but the home and the easement. Yeah, because the easement goes across the property. Right. And that's why typically with HOAs, they only allow you to do a fence from the back of the building, not down the side, because a lot of times there's these sorts of easements, whether they be utility or whether they be for drainage and those sorts of things.
I mean, just proportionally, it looked, the fence appears to be right in the middle. And,
That's generally.
Right on property line.
right on the property line, so yeah, so we would need them to move, again, 7 feet, right?
Something like that.
6 feet
5,
or
6,
something.
7 feet.
Let them propose a little bit on the.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's what I don't want to tell them we have to move 12.5 feet, because now they're literally at 0 side yard.
No, that doesn't.
5 feet compared to 12.5 is pretty significant. I have 5, I only have 10 feet in my neighbor.
It sure doesn't look like 20 feet though. Because you said it was 25.
According to the plat, unless it got replatted and, pop up, I would base off the property manager and the reference to define the plat.
Well, just to give you,
That's mine's only 10 foot.
but those are 80-foot lots, Jack. That's
Yeah.
what you probably not see. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But, it's 80-foot lot. I second the motion with the question.
To be clear, the motion is
Authorizing staff to send a letter to both, this resident as well as one of the places. The request that they move their encroachments back by at least 7.5 feet from their property line. That way it gives us a 50-foot easement.
Are you wanting me to send this letter?
No.
We are asking.
it's the first letter or was it HOA's letter?
No, I would say.
You're the owner of the deed.
Because from Sopa's perspective, I can appreciate, they're probably saying, hey, you guys approved my fence, go pound sand, right? And that type of thing, and that's all Sopa really can do at this point. This is a CDD. Yeah.
That was 14.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, that's a motion by you, Josh.
No.
Motion by Andy. Give a second.
Right.
Second by Josh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Just a quick, just to go back, did we send a letter yet to the gentleman? in Watermark?
I apologize, I'll get that.
Okay.
I'll make sure you get a copy of that.
Should we, to avoid delay, we need to authorize you to send a second follow-up letter assuming
What's the timeframe?
Yeah.
Let's not wait till next meeting.
Right, no, we're only going 30 days to get it to begin with. But that goes to the bottom, this is other staff, not one individual. So we're good. If I didn't have to follow what I would, get the numbers.
That's all I have. Any other questions?
And you say Soko's aware, specifically Amy's aware of this one?
Yes, 100%.
Like I said, I called her before you called.
I've noticed a lot more new stuff.
Yeah.
Taylor, when you send up, can you CC so? I think that's right. I'll ask one question if they don't know on that. Dealing with it.
Okay. Well, it'll probably be sent as actual mail. Generate that.
Well, and if you have an email address, I'd like to know that would have to be quicker. And the copy now will get emailed. And you're really interested, so,
I don't know if we have email for both of them, but
I don't need that. Amy
would
may.
be, I think CC the Amy in the email, fine. Yeah.
John, anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Okay, moving into the tab 2, the presentation of the clubhouse report.
Would you like somebody else to go and get a presentation first?
Absolutely.
How long should I have?
How much time do you need? How about?
like 10 to 15 minutes, that's okay.
You know, if you feel comfortable, please move your rep fast.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to be a pain, so you just move it. Can we angle a little bit, just check? I know we may not be able to.
I can move it back a little bit too, I think.
Yeah, I just want the audience to be able to have an opportunity.
Oh, I can just get up.
We see the reflection on the window.
Yeah. Yeah. We may not be able to do 360 here, but we're giving some opportunity to see you. That's pretty close. The people in the audience are probably the ones most passionate about getting this in.
Well, they just say that they're going to
Yes.
Yeah, we
I
can.
can go with
And can we angle that again and keep it flat?
It's up to the board if you want.
Where do you want it?
you. Angle it toward this way.
Yeah. Just keep rotating a little bit.
Yeah, I probably can do.
Yeah.
Can you guys see that over there? John, can you see that over there?
Yeah. And the biggest thing is residents keep saying, oh, it's gonna cost a fortune. I keep going back, no, it's geothermal.
That shouldn't be the pool.
Okay, John.
All right, I gotta stay over here, you guys see? And I'll pop my mask down as well, so there's a couple different sections, I'm gonna go about 15 minutes, just kind of cruise through it. But first off, I'm going to do a geothermal meeting, a little bit about our company, kind of the scope of work and what to expect, I got a little bit of alert screenshot to explain what's gonna happen, and then really why geothermal is cool. So what is geothermal pool heating and cooling? I always show this picture, this is actually, the current owner and president of our company, as a senior project in place, she created the Symbian geothermal pool heater, and then she actually tested it out on her own pool. So it's a little background on that. So Symbian Service Corp, so we've really been providing green products and services ever since it's really been fashionable. I'm not sure if you guys have ever really heard of geothermal pool heat. Some people have not. We also do geothermal air conditioning as well, but primarily for pool heat, we do commercial property. So there are some outliers, some larger homes that combine VDC with the pool heat. But speaking on commercial pool heating, we do over 1,400 commercial for the whole state of Florida. And we also service our heaters as well. Like I said, we do a lot of HOAs, YMCA, city pools, colleges, and then our first Symbian geothermal pool installation was actually back in the 1980s, and then our company has continued to grow ever since. So there's our team. We're up to 60 people now on our team. Our main hub is down in Florida. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that, but we're all kind of spread out around the
state. I myself, I reside in Palm Harbor area, and then our service techs, we have down in Fort Lauderdale, and then up in this area too. So actually, two of our best techs are Jimmy and Alan are actually up in this area too. So we're also, our manufacturer is Aquacal too, so if we can't get to the service call right away or whatnot, they're actually the largest heat pump manufacturer in the world, and they're right there in St. Petersburg. So we handle it pretty well. So here today, just me, myself, Patrick Morris, and my sales manager, Liz Ballard. His bread and butter is his degree in mechanical engineering, but his bread and butter is really the commercial pool industry. So he used to service over over 1,000 pools over in the West Palm Beach area. He's very knowledgeable on the commercial pool industry and pumps, heating, and all that. So I can get you guys' contact information if you have more technical questions or anything like that. And then there's mine as well. I also give you guys cards. So now getting into why geothermal is so great in the state of Florida. Reason being is right here. So in the state of Florida, the well water is actually 75 degrees year round. So it's unaffected by the outside air temperature. So we have that consistent heating and cooling heat source there. There's a couple different sources that you can use. You can use a fresh water lake, you can use a closed slinky tubing, but the most efficient way is the well water. It's 75 degrees.
That's what we're proposing for your.
Yes.
How far down do you typically get that?
I would say in this area anywhere from about 200 to 300 feet. But we actually have a well field right here.
I think it's 200 feet. It varies throughout the state of Florida. Yeah, 200 feet. In Miami, we drill all the way down to the limestone layer. When we drill, they'll put the sleeving all the way down till they hit that, and then they do a process called grouting, where they pump high pressure concrete in there, locks the casing in place, also prevents any sand from getting into the well. So it's about 100, they'll hit that about 100 feet, and then they'll continue to drill an additional 100 feet down into the limestone layer because of how much water we need. And then we hang what's called a rumpus. It's a stainless steel pump. It's a submersible pump that hangs down inside the well. Depending on what's called a drawdown, will determine how far that hangs into the well, probably around 60 to 80 feet there.
And then this is what you'll have to, this is what you'll see. So actually for this project, if you do I'm calling it the family pool and then the Olympic pool as well, if you do those together, so we'll actually drill 2 supply wells. That's our plan. I'll show you guys where we're gonna, put them on the property, and then 1 return well, we call the discharge and injection well. Only reason really was supply well, like Dave was saying, is you got that submersible well pump that actually hangs down in the well and then pumps that water up. Every drop of water we take out, that's why we have to drill it with discharge. To get the permit from the DEP, we have to take every drop of water out, and we have to discharge it back into the aquifer. And that's how we get the permit.
The DEP permitting is pretty easy for us to get. We just did a project Baltimore down on Clearwater Beach. We drilled 4 wells almost right on the beach. Because we aren't actually consuming the water at all, we're just taking about 5 to 10 degrees out of that water and putting it back into the ground to the same depth that we could have. We have really, it's pretty easy for us to get that permitting. It's
The
never
quality of that water, you see, you're below the limestone layer, is it?
into the limestone layer. Because you have the upper Floridian and the lower Floridian.
How do you treat that water before it goes into the system?
We don't. And he'll get into the operation. It actually doesn't touch the pool water. They're completely separated. He'll get into the operation.
That's the main misconception is, why are you mixing the well water with pool water? We're not. We're using the AC refrigerant cycle, which I'll get into next. But again, I know this is just the 1 well pump. You guys, like I said, will actually have 2. You have 2 supply wells. If you do both the pools again, that's up to you guys. And then here's your injection well. So here's your swimming pool. There's your well aquifer. And then there's your sinking and geothermal system. So for a commercial pool, your pool pump by code has to run 24 hours a day. Typically, it goes back to your pool filter, and then instead of going straight back to your pool, you guys already have, because your new backpacks you already have, it's called a diversion now, we call it bypass. We bypass that water instead of going straight back to the pool. We bypass it to our system, and then we absorb that well water, we absorb it into a refrigerant and transfer the heat from the well water to the pool heater. They never touch. It's using the AC refrigerant cycle, and then that heated water goes back to the pool, and then that well water, we took about 5 to 10 degrees out of the well water, we discharge that back down to the aquifer. So like I said, every drop of water we take out, we discharge back to it's just about 10 degrees colder. So here's now the inside of our heating system. So like Dave was saying, the well water is unaffected by our heat exchanger. Reason being is they're titanium heat exchangers. They're impervious to chemical imbalances, and then they have a lifetime warranty actually. So you have 2 heat exchangers, condenser and evaporator, and then your main component is your compressor. That's sending the refrigerant system, and we're not generating heat. All we're doing is transferring it from here over here, and that's using the AC refrigerant cycle. So you expand that gas to no longer 30 degrees. You send it through your evaporator heat exchanger, like I said, it takes about 5 to 10 degrees out of that well water, and then that refrigerant containing that heat goes to the compressor, compresses the gas, gets well under 140 degrees, or well over 140 to 150 degrees, and then that refrigerant containing that heat is then transferred to the pool. So again, it's just a typical AC refrigerant cycle. The cool thing about that is too, this is a heating mode. You can actually reverse this and you can actually pool the pool in the summer. So we do a lot of competition pools, specifically with the Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, swimming pool, all thing.
Down there. So, and typically, obviously, for competition pools, they keep their pools between 78 to 82 degrees, which I was gonna bring up as well because I sized the pool for 84 degrees, so I'm not sure if you have a lot of vote on that, but it does have a little bit of, especially the operating costs and whatnot, it all depends on what you're shooting. So, but we sized it for 84. So here, I'm not sure if you guys can see this, here's the Google Earth screenshot of the property. Where's your pool equipment down here for the family pool, and then the splash pad right here, and the junior pool equipment right there. So what we were planning on is having our largest supply well for the junior liquid pool that needs to produce 200 gallons per minute. It's going to have a 10 horsepower well pump there. And then for the family pool, we're going to have our supply well here, a 5 horsepower pump. We're going to do all the trenching through here and whatnot, get it over here. But you guys are probably thinking, why are wells so separated? Reason being is because you can get what's called thermal intrusion. So if you have your wells too close and you're injecting that colder water out of 10 degrees colder, you got to have to think of the well aquifer as a river flow. So it's flowing, and you got your injection well right here, it flows up to that supply well, then you're pumping up 65 of water. So it makes the system a lot more less efficient, and it can actually be detrimental to heat. That's why we need to have, what is it,
About 3 feet per gallon per minute approximately. Once you get to average gallons, it's a little bit different because the wells are deeper, so it's, you can think of it 3-dimensionally. That water being injected back in, it's going to balloon out the cold water, and so it's typically 3 feet per gallon per minute. So it's
Just to let you guys know, if it changes a little bit, that building right there, that's Flywell 90, that building in the northwest is not our property.
Okay.
Well, actually, it doesn't make sense, doesn't make sense to us either, we're actually trying to fix it. But right now, that building, that property is not ours. So it's Flywell, it's 200, it's Flywell 90, that's not our property.
Okay.
So I was actually, I was helping back on this, I hadn't actually looked at the property, we were actually discussing, you own the property right behind the tennis courts in that area?
Okay.
So, right in that area, that's what we were actually, because we can actually put the 2 supply wells fairly close together, and then we can put it back in.
It is a place where we contemplated, we haven't decided officially yet, to put a dog park. So the well did not seem to be fit next to a fence line pretty well in the previous slide. So
Right.
we would have no issue with.
We can put them anywhere you guys want. I mean, you tell us where we want them. We have a lot of flexibility where we can put them. I mean, we can even
Put it on the outer edge or something.
Yeah, we can even put it toward the parking lot, toward the building and all that, wherever you guys want. And we just, all we need is separate.
To the left of that tennis court, if you own that, it's just, you don't have to go down a little bit.
Okay.
Not significant, but that's quite a lot of that.
Perfect.
And then, speaking more on the project, so luckily for this pool, we can come off transformers for the junior liquid pool with these 4 of our largest gears, so we have about 51 draw and three-phase. So luckily you guys have that transformer right there. We're gonna bring over our panel right there for our meters, and then we'll actually feed these 2 well pumps off there. And then speaking on the family pool, we're actually got that transformer right there. Probably can't see it, but it's right by the playground. Right by the playground, we're just gonna trench here and bring over another panel for that. A great thing is you'll actually have a meter and switch. You can see exactly how much you're spending for our system. I know it's gonna be a little more different because that well pump's gonna be on there. have just how much you're spending in our system, unless you guys, of course, put other things on there. But other than that, that's just,
One other thing I just want to make sure that it's clear on, so we're drilling 2 supply wells. One supply well for the Junior Olympic, and then one supply well for the family pool. So and then you can see we only have 1 injection well. So once we bring the plumbing all the way back around to the bottom side of that pool, we're actually joining those 2 discharge pipes together with a 6-inch pipe, and then that goes to the discharge well. Just so it's clear.
yeah, and then we'll share, like Dave said, we'll share the connection that like.
The reason we do that is to simple, in engineering, they have a thing called just keep it simple. And so we could do just 2 wells. The problem is then we have to do motorized valves, we have to do pressure transducers, which will fail. I always tell people it's not, when they fail, it's when they fail, it's not if they fail. They will fail. So if we do the 2 separate wells, you'll have a lot less issues and you'll have,
So, quick question.
Sure.
I don't know how much that tiny pool takes. Would that be a major thing to add?
So are you talking about the splash or the bikini pool? Yeah, so I was gonna bring that up as well too. So we kind of did, since there's so many features on here, that's a huge amount of cost. So we can get away with, what was it, 290?
290s. Yeah, yes, we heat it. It's kind of a funny thing because when you turn on all the water features on that pool, your heat loss, when we size the pool, it's based on BTU. So your pool in 1 BTU is on the definition of a BTU. It's the amount of energy to raise 1 pound, not gallons, but 1 pound of water, 1 degree Fahrenheit. And so when we're sizing the pool, we're determining how many BTUs a day are being lost out of the pool for evaporation, and obviously outside temperature, we get a 30-year average temperature. When you turn those water features on, I think it was 6. But the amount of BTUs required, the increase, the amount of BTUs that are lost when you turn the water features on was like 6 million BTUs. It took the cost of heating that. So if you didn't have those, it would cost about $2,000 a season to heat that area because it's real shallow. It's all based on surface area. All your heat loss is through the surface area. And it's about $2,000 to heat that splash pad. When you turn the water features on, that now jumps from $2,000 to about $6,000, $7,000. Just and that's only turning those water features on for about 8 to 10 hours a day. So, but we get heat it, yeah. So it's just something.
That was, I think it was 8,000, 8,200.
Well, the other pool, waiting pool, we're thinking that's going to be filled in.
Okay.
At some point, so.
Right, yeah, we didn't do that.
So,
Yeah.
But so to answer your question, yes, we can heat that splash pad. Just keep in mind that it would increase the cost of the operations.
Does it change the price of equipment? So like we have the option of turning it off, turning it on, or?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So obviously, if you're running that in December, in January, February, your heating costs are going to be really just because of the outside temperatures. If you turn it on, later in the year, and we can actually, if you tell us, say, hey, we're going to run it from, say, April all the way through September, October, and then turn it off for November, December, that type of thing, we can actually probably get that down to 1 year that you would just need for that. Otherwise, if you do what we would do is we would just take the discharge water from the family pool and run it to those heaters. We call running the heaters in series, so that would be no problem. So we can just add those on. It would require additional electric, but that's again we're running.
You really see that being efficient use of time money to have a splash pool running in January, February.
No,
I don't see parents down there.
I was
Air temperature.
Well, that's what I was telling Patrick. I said, I don't, and that's what we want to kind of get some guidance from you guys because, when it's 50 degrees outside, you will not have any kid running through that. I mean, you may have some people working out in the pool, but not, because they're in the water, but when you're running through splash pads. Yeah.
So you're saying there's not really that much additional charge for the equipment setup, it's just about the electricity.
Right. The operating.
Right. So and if you tell us we're not going to run it December, January, February, we come back and say instead of $8,000, it's going to cost you $3,000 a year. Even
We would just bring over more electric.
Yeah, we're running electric already, so we can just run some, it's just two different services.
Can you run that at a different?
Yes.
Yeah.
So each spot brings up 104.
Yeah, each pool will have independent controls. And you can
You're
actually,
starting at 76 degrees, then you go up with your quarter.
we can actually cool the pools too. So we have some people that do cold plunge. I mean, so a lot of people get stuck with the temperature of the well water at 75 degrees. They say, well, how can I get my pool temperature from 85 to the spot to 104? It's the refrigerant that's actually going to do the work. It's like, like you said, when they compress the refrigerant goes up to 150 degrees. And conversely, if you're cooling the pool, like with the Junior Olympics, if you ever use for competition, you can actually have a Fort Lauderdale swimming pool, Hall of Fame, that's used year round. So we cool the pool in the summer and even cool.
So that refrigerant, and I'm completely ignorant.
Yes.
Is that the same stuff that's going up big time in price crazy?
Yes. there's actually a new gas they're coming out with that's supposed to be a lot less expensive. Everything right now, our manufacturer, they actually held out raising their prices, but I mean, wiring, PVC, everything has gone up, is going up to 30% right now. So right now, the heaters, they're holding on to the price for up until probably October, and then they're going to probably do a big price increase on that.
So did you say there's a new technology available or something?
There's a new gas that they're coming out with. It's not widely used even in the air conditioning. I was kind of reading up. I'm always reading up on all this. It's not widely used yet in the United States, but it'll be one eventually. It makes it a little bit more efficient.
Would that be something you could easily convert?
Yes, we can convert. We convert, so like every time they do a change in the refrigerant, what kind of refrigerant, we'll convert systems all the time. But these systems are the most efficient on the market.
No, thank you. I personally, I would love to have that little ad here for just 3 months.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that's like 20 degrees and everything else is much better.
In the evaporator,
I'm interested in more seal the whole pack.
so evaporator,
We're gonna buy a $300,000 system with our $5,000 delta, put that in, that's very good.
Yeah.
So I don't get stuck on what prices for the one thing, but.
evaporation, the reason that's so much cooler is evaporation accounts for 70%. And we evaporate, we'll keep out of the room.
Questions? So I was gonna go over a couple more types of cooling. So I was gonna go over an air source heat pump, just briefly touch on this. So the only thing obviously different is geothermal. And an air source heat pump is one uses water as a source, while the air source is the air as a source. The important thing to know, or important thing to kind of touch on is the water transfer heat. So water is actually very kind of conductive than air. A good analogy is we're sitting in this room right now, about 75 right now. You jump in that pool, you can go because water is pretty kind of more conductive than air. And then of course the consistency of the source plays a huge thing. All this presentation is boiling water 75 degrees, whereas when you need to heat the most, down in the mid 40s, 50s, that's when those air source heat pumps either shut off or just lose their efficiency. Just a little bit more. So our heaters, again, just so you do, ours can actually be installed inside. There's no fan motor or anything like that. All it is heat exchangers and a compressor. The big thing is it does not need a gas backup. So it's considered a standalone system. If you were to install air source and you want year-round heat, you actually have to install a gas backup. Winter.
Anytime I did a proposal, I used to do a proposal for West Palm Beach area. Anytime I did a commercial system for air source, I always included a gas backup. Altamar, just to give you a good example, they had air source heat pumps with a gas backup that we just converted to geothermal. Their gas bill was $70,000 a year for 3 pools, which the surface area is not too much. There's a little bit more surface area than what you guys have. So I always did a gas backup because, as Pat was saying, in the wintertime, as the temperature drops, you get about the mid-40s. There's not enough efficiency shot. Efficiency shot, and then also we get to a point where the heaters that they keep heating, I've actually seen them when the temp sensor fails, they turn into a huge block of ice. I mean, literally into a block of ice. And so they'll shut off at night, and your pool will lose anywhere from 6 to 12 degrees overnight. And then the next day, depending on the air temperature, will be turned out as we recoup that temperature. With geothermal, we're not affected by the outside. It's producing the same number of BTUs at the same COP regardless of outside.
And then, yeah, so we're actually 30% less on electrical, so you say 30% air source or 30%. Then what Dave was kind of briefly touching on, so it's the 80-80-80 rule, that's what usually the manufacturer side holds, COP, which is coefficient of performance. So usually they tell you 80-degree pool temperature heat into 80-degree air temperature, and then about 80% humidity. Well, you don't really need to be heating your pool when it's 80 degrees outside. So the BTU drops significantly, which she was saying, the efficiency and the COP, when you're heating your pool to 80, it's 50 degrees out, and then it's 63% humidity. Drops in there.
You mentioned competition. We really don't have any competition. Hard competition anyway. Would we really be interested in cooling at all? If the pool's too hot in the summer, have you ever had?
I think so.
I think so.
You did that in summer? You don't have to cool, it's an option. The heaters actually have a setting where you actually have to go into the heater and change it to cooling mode. We have a setting that's called heat and cool, where automatically you set it to a temperature, and if it drops below it, it's going to heat it up. If it goes above it, it's going to cool it back down. Just keep in mind, for every degree that if you're heating the pool, for every degree that you increase the temperature, it increases the cost to heat the pool by 4% for every degree. So just keep that in mind. And the same thing in the summertime. So if you're cooling, when you get into the mid-90s, my pool gets into the 90s in the summer. It's not very refreshing. Most developments will cool their pools into the high 80s. Like even if you just cool to 88 degrees, it's amazing how much more refreshing that is. But you can choose whatever temperature you want. Like I said, we do competition pools, so we cool pools all the way down to 78 in the summer.
But that's not an equipment decision for this, right? That's just
It's just an option. It's an option.
It's included in that one. And like you're saying, there's 4 settings. Not off.
From a retention and fee perspective, I know the YMCA, down the road here, kind of a pool course, but, when they heat their pool during the colder months, they have to put cover over them, to not lose the heat. Well, we have to do that here, and how do you do it? If you do, how do you do it for the regular size pool?
So, one thing I used to do, I used to always tell people, even like in residential pools, you don't air condition your house with the doors and windows open. I always tell people, there's a product called liquid blanket. It's different when you use it in a residential pool as opposed to a commercial pool. If you look at your pool, you have what are called gutters all the way around. That water, when the pump's running, the water is being lifted up and gets pushed into the gutters. So what you have to do, they sell these feeders that actually add the product throughout the night. But you can't add it just once. A lot of guys make a mistake, they'll add it once, and what happens is it's based on surface retention, I mean. And if you just add it once, it'll eventually break that apart and push into the gutters, which doesn't do you any good. So you have to add it throughout the night. What it does though is it creates a 1 molecule layer over the surface of the pool. I had a guy in Wellington didn't believe it worked, so he raised his temperature up to about 90 degrees. I came there first thing in the morning, and you see the steam coming out. That steam is actually water evaporating. As the water evaporates, as I mentioned, it pulls the heat out of the water as part of the evaporation process. It accounts for 70% of your heat loss. I put an ounce of the product in, and you just keep propagating over the surface, and the steam stops. So it'll save you on makeup water in the pool, but also it's not as good as like the YMCA, those covers. If you do use a cover, you can get covers custom made and get the big reel systems. They're very expensive for commercial pools. If you do it, you're required by the Department of Health to take it on and off every day, regardless if somebody uses it or not. With the liquid blanket, it's a product that you can have it on. If you look at the pool, you can have liquid blanket on there now. You cannot see it, taste it, feel it. It's inert. It's got what's called NSF approval, which you have to have in order. Anything you use in a commercial pool has to have what's called NSF approval. And so it's got that approval, and it doesn't affect your filtration system or anything. I use it on my pool.
And if you don't want to do that, we also size these pools, so we can size it with or without a blanket. So we size it with a blanket, and then you get what's called the design temperature swing, so it's engineering terms. So we size this for 61 degrees, so pretty much an average of 45 degrees in the morning and 75.
Well, my concern was not so much about,
the cover, the sizing is certainly an issue. My concern is that from an operations perspective, I know what it takes to YMCA. I know the size of these schools, and you're talking about manpower, additional manpower. At least during the winter months, we have to have here potentially at the end of the day and the beginning of the day. It's not just a one person, not a two person sort of thing. So just.
So the liquid blanket,
Yeah.
the cost to install a liquid blanket feeder that comes with a gallon of product. A gallon of the product would probably last you half a swimming season. A gallon costs about $100, I say ballpark. But it will save, and we can do it, I can do a cost analysis for you, save you thousands of dollars a year in heating costs. It's well worth it. I mean, it pays for more than pays for itself, and that's includes the feeder. So after you install the feeder, I do all the programming, we'll have it all set up. Then as the guy maintains the pool, as he sees the product being, it's in a quart bottle, so as he sees that empty, he'll put another quart there and just keep going like that. So it's real simple.
You're talking only a few ounces in that size pool, it's not, it creates just a very thin layer.
Yeah, one molecule layer is all it creates. Yeah, I mean, so thin, you can't tell, like, if you were coming to my pool, you can't tell that I use liquid blanket. You can't see it, like I said, see it, taste it, feel it, it doesn't affect the filtration system at all. But it just puts that one molecule layer over the surface and it prevents that evaporation. It's not as good as the blankets. So with a blanket, you'll lose anywhere from 1 to 2 degrees at night. With liquid blanket, you lose anywhere from probably 2 to 4. Without a blanket, you're gonna lose anywhere from 6 to 12 degrees at night. And like I said, it's a substantial. It's like I'll do a cost analysis and
And it doesn't wash away into the gutters.
It eventually does. That's why I have to, the feeder that they have, I can do up to 20, what they call events. I can do up to 21 events. I typically do about 6. And I spread them out about an hour throughout the night. I start about 9 o'clock at night. So you can see there's no wind out there. If it's a really windy day, if anybody jumps in there, it breaks the surface tension, it just, and then when they get out of the pool, it reforms. So, but it's mostly at night. That's when most of your deep losses occur.
So the proposal we have, Mr. Blair, includes a tarp blanket?
That doesn't, no, it does not include any blanket.
But you were building the concept, the pricing based on the type of.
No, this is without, what he's designed is without any blankets, which I would highly recommend just keep with that.
Yes, sir.
And then, but I would recommend adding the liquid blanket to the system, because that would save you thousands of dollars.
I just want to make sure we were getting the best case scenario.
Yes, yeah. So what we do is I don't know if you can get into this, it's what we call temperature swing. We design a temperature swing into the system. With commercial, with competition pools, it has to be at a certain temperature, so we have no design swing. When you get into a recreational pool or something like that, it's not as important, but that pool's rated 84 degrees first thing in the morning. So because it's a cost savings, we could add as many heaters as you want, so there is absolutely no swing at all. It's always 84, and whatever. So that's right now. I think we have a 2 degree swing. So first thing in the morning would be 82 degrees, 81 degrees at the worst.
Regardless of the exterior temperature.
No, when it's probably sound like 40 at night.
It's based on, so we do a 30-year average temperature in each area when we're sizing these, so it's 61 degree average air temperature. I think so. Yeah, so we base it on an average air temperature. So you are going to get certain nights where it's below average, and then other nights where it's not quite. So there are times when you'll get a little bit more than a 2 degree drop. That's why I always recommend a blanket. With a blanket, you probably have no drop.
And then, so this is the chart, so I'll briefly just touch on this. So solar really doesn't pertain here, it's really only for residential. Solar will only raise the temperature of the pool about 10 to 12 degrees if you actually have it sized right. So have it sized right, you actually have to match the surface area of the pool with solar. So if you guys don't have enough room on the roof, you actually have to put the racks out, and, all that. So it would be too cost effective. Then you would also have a gas backup. So gas, the performance on gas is great. 20 or 30 degrees out, you will be 4 degrees. The only downfall of it is it's extremely expensive. It's going to be about 80 to 90% more operating costs than a geothermal system. And then the other thing is the durability of the serviceable life. Typically for a gas heater, it's about 3 to 5 years. Like I touched on, the heat pump again is mild. We would recommend definitely recommend a gas backup if you have a heat pump. If not, Dave said, we'll rock ice. And free fall, not have to be there for parts of the year. And typically with those, they're anywhere between 7 and 10 years serviceable life. And then geothermal, again, it's going to heat just like a gas heater, but at a fraction of the cost. Obviously, it's a green technology, and then they have a 15 to 20 year serviceable life. And then you can also cool the pool. Gas cannot cool the pool, and only certain sources pump the pool. So that's just kind of.
Yeah, gas also has cooker nickel heat exchangers, which the water runs through the heaters 24 hours a day, regardless if it's heating or not. It does strip the copper out. I don't know if you've ever been to a pool and had bottom returns and you can see like the staining by the bottom returns. That's what will happen. You have bottom returns here. So what you'll see is you'll see staining along the side of the water. It's inevitable. Like I said, I've heard
We talk 15 to 20 years, but it's the cost to replace those heat exchangers.
So to replace the whole heater or the heat exchange?
Well, you need both. I mean,
typically when you get to 15 to 20 years, we recommend replacing. You know, if the heater, you know, like a compressor goes bad or you know, whatever happens, it obviously depends. I mean, if it's a $20 contactor, you know, 16 years old, you probably replace that. If it's a $2,000 or $3,000 compressor, then I would replace the whole heater because it's kind of like your car. You know, you're always kind of balancing that or weighing that in consideration. How old is the heater? What's the cost of repair it, that type of thing. Typically, we say when it gets up to the 15-year mark, that's when you should consider replacing. It's about $8,000 to $9,000 to replace the HP90, which is for the.
So we have 6, yeah, we have 6 of our PH90, our mid-size heater, and about between 19 to 20,000 for our largest heater.
And is the value so for you guys in selling that equipment, or is it the wells and the system as a whole? Because I'm following up on Jack's question. I'm curious to know, you know, if we go with one of the other technologies, right, replacing something that fails in that versus yours. So is it once the well's in, the electrical is, the trenching, and that's the rest of the stuff up top can be kind of replaced with industry standard heater of some sort, right?
Correct, yeah. Once you get the wells in the electric, the electric last 50 plus years, typically unless you have something, you know, major go wrong, lightning strike or something like that. The wells, again, will last 50 plus years. That's why we drill down to the limestone there. We have some companies that will do what are called sand wells. They have a sand screen on it. They don't go as deep. Those are very problematic. So we go all the way down to the limestone. Like Pat was saying, we've been doing this for 30 some years. So we've learned our lessons throughout that period of time. And so the only things that are really going to fail in the future would be a well pump, which those have a 5-year warranty on. So the heaters have a 5-year labor warranty, 7-year parts warranty, and a lifetime warranty on the heat exchangers. So once we install it for 5 years, you have no out-of-pocket expense for repairs. The well pumps typically get a 10 plus year life. They're what they call Rumpus. They're stainless steel, submersible pump. They're the best you can buy. Because our view is we don't want to put something cheap in there that's going to break in 5 years or 3 years or whatever. You guys won't be happy with that. So we use only top grade. Well, one of the reasons I'm actually working with the company, with Symbian, as I said, I used to work over in West Palm Beach. I saw a lot of other systems installed over there. Pat showing some of the pictures of their installations. You will find nobody that does a better installation of these systems than Symbian. That's why I came, because I just saw the quality of it installed. I actually, one of the first jobs I went out, when I first started working, they were putting 6 heaters, they were stacking 3 heaters and out of 3 heaters. It took them over an hour and a half just to align all the heat. These guys are like artists, they're professionals when they do the install. So when they do the install, you won't find that.
We try to do pretty well here on reserve studies and our funds, right? We try to plan, as crazy as this, 30 years out. What we're going to maintain roads, trees, the pool equipment, stuff like that. So that's going to tie into this something.
Absolutely.
This question of, you're saying a well pump is kind of a standard well pump. You buy the best one, a cheap pump, it's not proprietary.
Right.
The heater, if it fails, we can get another heater, it's not proprietary.
Exactly.
That is very, I definitely want to know if there's something proprietary in the system. And I won't hold against you if there is, but I want to know that because yeah, the residents and everyone here is obviously hearing a very large chunk of change at one time. But
Absolutely.
I think that's what's our 30-year cost, and that's way more than the initial cost, especially maintenance.
Right.
What I said accurate, you guys don't have any.
No, there's nothing equivalent. You could get another company or, you can go out and buy these heaters.
But you guys are also able to find them or something. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, absolutely. Okay, no, absolutely. And like Patrick was saying, we have, we're the warranty station. Actually, anytime a geothermal heater goes down, Aquafab calls us to go service them because we're the expert on that. Because you'll find if you do, some research that there's very, very few people, I don't know why, people ask me, well, how come our warrants? I'm not really sure. That do geothermal, and we've been doing it for 35 years. All our guys, like Patrick was saying, Alan and Jimmy are two of our best technicians up in this area. I would recommend doing, just like your air conditioners, I don't know if you guys do plan maintenance on your air conditioners. I would do plan maintenance, a yearly plan maintenance on the heaters. It'll extend the life of them because, you'll, the contactor, for example, is what sends the power to the compressor for all time average. Over time, there's what are called points, and it starts to get carbon buildup in there. And just by cleaning that contactor on a yearly basis, we'll keep that power going to the compressor. Short life.
Did your proposal include cleaning maintenance?
I'm sorry.
It includes a 6-1 year checkup after that. Sorry.
You have that as an option for us to.
We'll go to you, yes.
Sure. So why go with geothermal? Obviously, like I spoke on, the well source is constantly source, environmentally friendly, you're not burning fossil fuels. Not sure if you guys have, do you have propane or is it natural gas? Natural gas and some parts.
Yeah, it depends.
Sure. So and then performance, again, huge thing, you don't need gas backups year round and full year round. Life expectancy, 15, 20 years, serviceable life is the longest on the market. And then this is a big thing, it will be the cheapest operating cost. Again, I know one of the comments geothermal is the initial investment, wells, and the electrical, transformer and whatnot. But after that, you have a less than 20,000 per year. I think exactly our estimated cost. So for the junior limit, it's about $12,020. Again, this is heat at 84 degrees, and then 7,600 for the tank. And then again, there's that optional cooling. We did it for 84 degrees. There's no competitions or whatnot, so at 84 degrees, cooling down to be about $3,100, and then we about $2,000. And we really recommend 86.
So do you guys stand behind that estimate?
Yeah, so again, you'll be able to tell with the meter switch as well too, like we do this for 30 now, so.
All I'm saying, what if our cost is actually 40 grand in the end of year?
Well, I'll give you an example. For the electrical. It's so we've been working, we have a proprietary sizing formula that we use. That is actually one of the most important parts that we do is sizing that pool properly. Because if we don't size the pool, we don't know how many BTUs are being lost a day, then we can't really size the pool properly. So that's what these costs are based on. I think it's 11 cents a kilowatt.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. I assumed 11 cents. Well, 11 cents.
So if you can give us what you're paying for electric out here per kilowatt, then we can give you the exact. Yeah, but we stand on that. Absolutely. I mean, our reputation, is based on. So
that's what I was gonna bring up before, since we have a bunch of properties, so we're gonna chill, let go out. So frequently asked questions, how much noise, again, I don't know if this really matters, but back there, junior limit maybe, so it's not gonna be any louder than the pool filtration. I think what is it about
45 to 55 decibels. You could, they make a humming sound. We put isolation blocks underneath the heaters, and it's just a compressor. You hear a humming sound of the compressor. That's it. There is no fan motor on the top of that. The well pumps, as I said, are submersible, so they actually hang about 60 feet down in the well. The only way you can tell those are running with your hand on the pipe, sometimes they'll select by person.
So, and then what is the project timeline? So again, it really depends per project. For this one, I would say 3 months to be completed once the Permitting right now, it's screwed up with COVID, so we're a little backwards, like 6 to 8 weeks. But usually, and once we come on property, we have. Start. Like Dave said, what is the warranty on the years? You have a 5-year labor, 7-year parts, 7-year compressor, and then those titanium PHP. Training on the equipment, so like I said, included in the proposal is the 6 months to a year maintenance checkup that's included in this first proposal. But after that, I myself, or I or Dave Valley, come out and train you guys how to use the thermostat, how to go over the system, show you a couple of air codes to look out for, lighting and all that, but not to touch. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, I have a question for you. So you said about 3 months for the project from start to finish.
Okay. I mean, you know, the permitting is outside our control, so once we get the permits, like Patrick said, once we start the project, our guys don't, but one thing I wanted to mention, the only thing that we sell out are drilling wells. Everything else is done in-house. We have master electricians. So our install manager is a licensed electrician. We have master electricians that do all the electrical work. We have master plumbers that do all the plumbing. We run all the trenching, do all the trenching and all that. And so, yeah, so once we start a project, it's not like we'll come and drop the heaters off and then go and start another project and come back later. Once they start, they're going to be here until they finish it. And it's probably a good 4 weeks to 6 week project with all the trenching they're going to have to do and running the power and that.
Any downtime with the pools during that time?
Well, so what they're going to do is they're going to do all the supporting. They're going to run the plumbing in from the wells. They're going to get all the electric in place. They're going to get all the heaters in place. The last thing they're going to do is then tie it into the pool equipment. So you may be down for a day, less than a day, half a day typically, which, you don't even have to close the pool because your chemistry won't be affected by that. Like I said, in 6 hour time.
Okay.
We do that.
So let's talk about drilling the wells. Did you bring in a large truck?
Yes.
Yes. So access to the drilling possible location. I don't know, that would be collateral damage. The landscaping or concrete or who knows what.
Yeah, they'll use plywood when they go over the sidewalks and all that. That typically will, protects the sidewalks. Can it crack them? It is possible. If they went behind the tennis courts, up in this area here, we're kind of talking about, if they were to drill the wells in here, there is an access point going right through here. There's some trees. You may have to trim a couple, but they were real minor.
Can't they come in off the utility? See the access point.
There's that buildings in the way. I don't know if they can get behind that. I mean, they can get into here.
It's not our property.
Oh, it's not your property there. Okay, yeah, so, and we can even drill the wells back in this area too. It's just.
That property.
Yeah,
That is, yeah.
that's your property here.
On the right side of it, on the right side of the building.
Oh, in that area, yeah, so.
Everything with a red dot is right now is already up to.
What about that space between the 3rd and 4th court? Is that a wider space?
Yeah, if we can get a truck back there. The problem is if we can get the truck in there, so.
So I think what might be, not even for you, dog park. That power line road is accessible, and any of that's ours, until you get in obviously the neighborhood.
Right.
So, we could drop it back there.
Yeah, that would be ideal. I mean, that's fine. So we can put the wells in here, like this, where I was initially looking, just because I didn't, I was assuming, obviously, this was your property, but we can just as easily put a couple wells in that area.
Or even like Jackson, over by the.
Yeah, they can get the truck in there and
You can definitely get to the access.
Those trees there, are they just bushes?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Behind the tennis courts.
I think that's trees. We can even drill up front here too. This is your property here, I'm assuming? Yeah. So we can even come up in the front here, find an area up in the front there as well. And we'll put them in the garden area. A lot of times you saw it's 8 by code. We have to, the pipe has to be 18 inches above ground. And so then it gets 90 back into the ground. Most of the time we'll put them in gardens, and they'll plant bushes. Half the time when we go out, I was at a property that their units were about 22 years old, still running. They just wanted a price, for replacement. I couldn't find the wells. I finally did, but they're like in these bushes. you know, it's a challenge for us sometimes to come back and find it.
Just on that, I would remind you to consider the cost of bringing the landscape, the concrete, or whatever. It's cut back to status quo. We've experienced that in the past, when we have a slide. Tear it up, getting it out, so we have to spend money to bring it back.
So if you guys,
Even though that would probably be a small factor in the equation.
yeah,
So
so
there you should consider, because the well charts, they're not little.
no, they're not. And if we keep it, if we stay in the back of the property, I don't think that'll have any impact at all on your landscaping. And then as far as trenching the pipe, you know, we can, we typically, if they're doing a lot, they're gonna be doing a 6-inch pipe, they like to use a small excavator. When they come up to the sidewalks, what they'll do is they'll get underneath the sidewalks, they won't come through the sidewalks, they won't have to
But
cut.
didn't you want to put the other supply down here where these two yellow things are?
Actually, that's the injection one.
Injection well right here.
So I thought the second tier would be down.
Yeah, right in that area. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't get through that sidewalk.
Yeah, if we could get to that sidewalk and we could put the one, you know, the fields?
Yeah.
That's your property? I mean, we could even, I mean, we have a lot of, like I said, all I'm worried about is the separation between the wells. I can, you know, once I get the separation, I can put the wells up in front on that power line road, or you can put one well, you know, up toward the building, where that other transformer is, near that other transformer, you know, when it comes out. You know, we can put one well down here and then down in the bottom of that field, put the other well that way.
So the injection well is down by the playground.
Yes,
Can you move that to behind the basketball court?
the only problem is the access, getting access back there, because those, both of those playgrounds have the posts. And it's too skinny to get a vehicle, you know, that far through there, unless we can come in through the field. I didn't see any easy access through the
No, you'd
field.
have to come right through the sidewalk.
Yeah, it's too narrow.
A recommendation from my part is that should the board decide to hire
Yeah,
you, you should, before they make that final decision, is present a plan on where these bills are going.
absolutely.
Where access is feasible, because tell you right now, looking at the screen, it's yes.
Right, so right now, based on what our discussion is, I would definitely probably, you know, because I was, and again, I'm unfortunately super wrong, you know, thought we could put the wells back in this area. Is this your property in between right here? Could we get a truck on that? Or within a green or whatever? Because if we get the truck back here, we can put it on.
They're not coming in.
Okay. So we'll just come in from this area, we'll put 2 wells back in here, we can bring it, you know, we'll bring the plumbing in there, that's not a problem. This well down here, is not a problem either. You know,
That whole grass, treat area, and there, by the way, is ours, so.
down in this area. Yeah, so we would bring that well right up to the tree line there. Again, I prefer putting in on the edge of the property, not in the middle, just because the lawnmower guy, they, you know, they'll run them right over.
Just back, I would just recommend that you actually figure out where it is.
Absolutely.
With actual access of the vehicle to the trucks.
Yeah, I'll run back there and check that out.
Just give that presentation, that would be my recommendation.
Sure.
Just so we know that it's feasible.
The cost isn't, because the distance between the wells is gonna stay pretty constant. And so the piping, you know, whether I move it is not gonna really be influenced too much. So the price will stand, you know, regardless of where we end up with the wells. But I'm pretty confident we can, you know, we get them back in this area, we'll be fine. Because then that means running through there, through back there. And then the other one back here.
So from a pricing perspective, just want to talk about the electric real fast. Your proposal, I think, has a 24,900 a year estimate, right? It's not 20, just want to make sure I'm wrong. The presentation said 20, but we're at 25 now, doesn't mean.
Yeah, that must include the.
Oh, that doesn't include the cooling as well.
Yes.
And that's cooling to 84 degrees, which that's pretty cold.
So that's heating and cooling for $94,000, so.
Subtract 5,000.
5,000 you go up to that.
Okay.
Or you're cooling 88.
Yeah, and keep in mind, again, for every degree that you increase or decrease, it will change the cost of operation by 4%.
Okay.
For every degree.
Thanks for clarifying that. Or just FYI, the adjustment that we did was 20,000 increase in our preliminary budget, so we're pretty much on par with that. And then the equipment costs were a total of the project costs was $271,880.
For the junior and.
Junior and family, yeah, and putting everything that you presented tonight. Is it smart to account for any variance of that, or do you include the
No.
variances? So
Just one thing, we really pride ourselves in, we take a lot of time when we're sizing these, people will say, well, give me a quote tomorrow, and stuff, I can't. And we get the quotes from the welder, we do a lot of research, make sure we have everything, all our ducks in a row. So
So
we're
now you
really,
find ourselves when you come back and go, oh, man, we
Right.
3 other things here and 4 other things here, and all of a sudden we got $20,000.
right, to give you an example, so we had one of our well drillers, who's, again, we use Eddie Hall is the guy that we're using here, a phenomenal well driller. He knows the area very, very well, where the water is, how deep you have to go, that type of thing. We had a situation where, the well driller misquoted it, or he didn't quote it deep enough. We ended up, actually, we ended up paying almost to put the system in. We didn't charge the development, we ate that concept. So we stand behind our price.
So on
There won't
that,
be any surprises.
on that same topic, the kiddie pool can be included if you want to turn it on.
Sure, I can almost do that as like an option, if you guys want to do that as an option or as a separate.
Okay, so there's no more cost to it. It's just-
It would have.
It would add.
It would be two additional. I would recommend doing the 2 additional heaters, even if you're doing it during the summer, just because when you turn those water features on, if it's a cooler day or something like that, the heat loss is tremendous. One heater would be able to do.
16,000.
A little more than that, you gotta bring over more electricity, so up our electricity, we got one add to.
Close to that, 20 maybe.
So with the kid pool, I know we're talking, generality numbers here, right? Appreciate that.
So, 290.
290,000, and then from an electric cost.
So that's the big thing, so that's about 8,200 actually.
Well, that was in
That was
January. though.
Yeah, 40 around.
So if you let us know what months you're gonna run it, run that. So if you're gonna keep it on December, January, February, we can come back and say, okay, instead of 8,200 to operate that, it's gonna be 4,000 or
We
5,000.
try that year round with the.
Be over 8,000, just over 8,000 operated year round. And that's running, that's assuming that you're gonna run the feature pumps throughout the day.
Right.
Because if you don't run the feature pumps, then the cost will win. That does just.
In the winter months, would you consider
It's all
only
pretty
having
heavy.
one
Yeah.
heated, running it, heating it, one of the pools, not both of the pools in the 3 cold months?
I had a development, they had 3 pools, they had like an exercise pool, like a lap pool, that actually had a restaurant, they had a kind of a junior Olympic pool, like, and then they had one called a family pool, well, they were very, very possessive of that, the kids played in the family pool, and the adults were in the thing, so it's all up to you guys, yeah, you can shut it down in the 4 months or whatever. It's up to you guys, that's and I would recommend too, whatever country you set it at, it would be a board decision, otherwise the manager, the pool company, whoever, because you'll have every person, we want 88, we want 82, that.
I have a question. We have a water slide. So we decided to turn on the water slide. Will that affect the
We
operating
factor that
cost?
into.
So that's in there.
Correct.
Yeah, so that cost is factored in already, so it actually doesn't increase the number of heaters, because you're only gonna, we have to make some assumptions, you're only gonna run the water slide during the day, because you aren't, I don't see the proper lighting, so you don't open the pool at night. So you're only gonna run that water slide, during the day, so we've already accounted for that heat loss, from the water slide, that's accounted for in that, the 19,000.
Just in case.
Yep.
12,000.
Oh, it was good as well, yeah.
John, you've had a lot of input from the residents.
They would want both pools. Splash pad never came up. With the $20,000, is there any, and I know you guys have asked it, is there any caveat? Like, was that 20,000 based off of having, that solar liquid?
No, so if you did the liquid blanket, it would probably save you $5,000 to $6,000 a year.
So that's
It's a substantial.
So that $20,000 was, hey, you're gonna be losing heat.
Yeah, you're no blanket, no, it's just a heater.
We don't have any history on how these pools would be used. But I can't say that in the winter months, I can't see both pools having any kind of the usage that they have in the summertime. So why would you have to have both pools heated up to 84 degrees when one pool could accommodate 50 feet to 100 feet?
Little kids won't go in the.
Exactly. You'll have more people with smaller kids in the family pool versus in the.
We don't have to compare apples and oranges, right? Other neighborhoods that have a pool that's heated year round use more. We know that from Spanish, we have neighborhood. We have never had that historically. People won't come here in the winter. We shut things down, it's cold, they're.
We don't have to figure that out now.
It's put in.
This, the one about, we just did this one development down in Sarasota called Moat Ranch, and they did not have any heaters on their pool. And their community actually was kind of divided whether they should heat it or not. And we installed the heaters. I went out, we got out there a couple times to do some, teaching them how to operate and stuff like that. And back in one of the board presidents was just, amazing how many people are now using it that never did, because it's cold. You'll definitely get a lot more use.
So from a skill set, manpower, is there anything that you should be accounting for? So we have Teresa and her staff is here. Is there anybody else that is needed, any skills for this?
You guys maintain the pools yourself, or you guys have a company now? You have a company? So if you have a good pool company, I remember, I just, on my way up there, I stopped at a development, we just changed out some of their heaters there, and they weren't heating. I get there and the pool filters are all clogged, no flow to our heaters. I don't care what kind of heater you put out there, if you lose the flow to the heaters, if you have gas, heat, air source, heat pumps, or you can lose the heat. That's our biggest complaint.
Okay. And obviously, a good question will present to them as well, but in your experience, is there anything that they have to do differently? Treat the pool with chemicals, get a little off balance, because of heat, those types of things?
Typically, they'll probably use, it's not very noticeable, but you'll use slightly more chlorine. Obviously, warmer water promotes algae growth, so slightly more. But in the summertime, if you cool it, it still compensates. So in the summertime, you cool it, it's not going to do forms.
And then in our training too, that's most likely looking at Oak Ranch, the pool company. So some people podcast out.
I do have another question that, during our busy season, we have 7-day pool service, because our pools get trashed.
Yep.
When we do heat these pools and we're getting busier, pools are gonna get dirtier. We may want to consider having that same 7-day pool service.
I think it's probably smart for you to consult with the contractor.
I'll get it,
talk
try
about
to get
the plan and just see what they're going to do.
because our pools are too big, we don't have vacuums, we don't have anything staff.
Right. Yeah. I used to maintain a lot of pools that they just get there in the summer. I had one pool that I could clean the filter once every 2 weeks, and during the summer I had to clean it 3 times a week. Otherwise, I lose the pool.
And then the other question is sitting here saying $4,000 or $5,000, right? Using the liquid blanket.
He'll get you a call.
So you need one for each pool. So it's about $2,200 for both of those. It's about $1,100, a little over $1,100 for those feeders with a gallon of product. And then after that, you can buy the product for about $90 to $100 per gallon of
So
product.
they say you're saving money by using it, but then we're purchasing to have this. So if you're saying it's gonna cost us, how much is it gonna cost?
At the most, it probably costs you $200 a year in product in the little.
That's it.
That's it, yeah, and then the feeder, so when you, the $1,100 includes the feeder. So right now, you guys have what are called center feeders out there. They can put in up to 45 gallons of liquid per day. These are ounces, these only put ounces in. As I mentioned, that one pool, I put 1 ounce in that product, and it's propagates, because it just spreads out over the surface.
So we don't have to do it ourselves, it automatically.
No, all your pool services, we can show them how to do it. All they have to do is they see the bottles get empty, take the rest of that product, pull it into the new bottle, set the new bottle, and put the lid back. And it's a 30-second process.
We're an hour into this.
Okay. Only 15 minutes. No, there's something we have a lot of questions on, and this is obviously one of the biggest expenses of the year. Moving forward, so I think it's worth the time on it. But, okay. So you guys are.
What's that?
Any incentives? Should we wait for you?
No, actually, I won't wait too long. I mean, it's what I'm seeing just crossing this, we do air conditioning as well, Patrick said, everything is just, all the prices are going up. The Aqua said they're gonna hold their prices till October, and then they're gonna do a big price increase.
So the coolant stuff, how often do you do that?
Like I said, if you could buy it in bulk, you could buy a 4-gallon box and have it last 2 years.
I think he's talking about the refrigerator.
That's it, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that would be more expensive service.
Yeah, no, they would, you would, yeah, that hopefully, you know, if you have a legal system. And that would be covered under kind of repairs.
So all in all, you're talking about less than 300?
We're talking about 293,000, including the heaters and the kiddie pool, and $33,000 a year max electric cost.
Right, and another reason I asked, the current bid threshold, about 300, this kind of work, we have to do a pump bid. And given the dollar amount, we would have to require a payment for fund, your problem, you guys can do that.
No problem.
All right,
We do large, you know, like I said, we're doing, right now, we're in the process, they just did the, Fort Lauderdale swimming pool, and they just rebuilt those pools, we're meeting those pools right now.
so just let you guys know from a timing perspective, we're obviously in budget season right now, but this is called next year's budget, the 11th of October. So the board would have to make a decision of pulling some money out of fund, something else that's currently budgeted. We would have to do something with balances to do it this year. I don't say it's pro or con, just letting you get our timing and would require a little bit. So we definitely would be able to make a decision until at least next month minimum.
That's fine.
And even if we did, then we would work with our attorney to be able to contract with the.
Yeah, so And then, you know, even if, let's say you wanted to wait till next budget year or something like that, I mean, even if you sign the proposal now, you know, we can hold, you know, and did that, we can install them later, that type of thing.
So you can do an install in October when budget kicks in.
That's okay.
So is there nothing to do that or?
We would like some type of good faith, you know, just, you know, normally we do a 30% deposit, and we do a couple of draws, you know, throughout the process. And as I said, it's a 4 to 6 week process, so we get certain markers that we build. Typically, we do what's called progressive billing, we build at the end of each month for.
And that's third.
Typically, yeah. So,
Good.
all right.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Darren, we'll go.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
And then do you want me to email
No, I wouldn't share the document. And again, only because we would pay convert it, etc. Anyone who's interested would be able to get it.
It's gonna make it to Facebook. It'll make it to Facebook.
Well.
Once we make it to Facebook.
As long as the CDD is not posting it.
Yes, I'm not representing the CDD.
Yeah, so, I don't know if everybody had an opportunity to read my email, Fred was, Greg Henry about the theater, carpet, but Jack and I, we over it several times, and, with our best interest in bringing it back to the board, to see what they want to do with it. The carpet was installed clearly, not a major, you know, thing, but they did install it, in a different direction. Cuts were all over the place, and that weekend, they left some carpet out in the closet. So, you know, after that, Greg, I thought for tear everything out and move it over. That's just what I was doing at home, so, but it doesn't appear that Greg Henry wants to do that. So he's offering, to support around and to change the bottom, carpet. Which would only, you didn't have to take out the bottom of the.
How long did it take to do it?
Actually, they did very fast, you know, maybe several, but we didn't have to meet people.
the installation of it the wrong direction? Is this just, it was
carpet, you install it, you don't want the scene in the middle of a room or a heavy traffic area. So common practice supposedly is to install it the other way. But he did install it the other way, but he installed it backwards. So it should have been turned this way instead of going this way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get clarification on if he didn't live up to what was in the whatever agreement or whatnot, or if this is more of a, hey, common practices. Because I saw his email where he said, however many percent goes down the way.
Right. There was no standard on how to install carpet.
No, okay.
Yes.
I think that makes it challenging for us. I mean, as far as getting him to say, because me, I would say the same thing, tear it up and do it right. If it was in the contract, not in the contract, then
He said his comments were good. If you make me do it, I'll do it. I want to be satisfied.
oh, in that case.
But,
But according to the email, it doesn't appear that.
you know, my question would be, you know, if he comes back in and do it, is that our fault?
No.
It doesn't appear he's gonna do that by that email.
The carpeting itself is about $2,500 to $2,600. Physical carpet. He would have to pay his people to take the seats out, carpet installer would have to do it on his dime. So it would be, he would buy the carpet and he would have to pay his guys. So he's looking probably about $4,500 to do it over.
So he's gonna eat that $4,500.
Or we do the down and dirty, put a quarter round so that you don't see those. And it keeps it from peeling back, it's doing it, pulling strings on it. Finishing the closet right. And then asking for a discount on
Yeah, I think it's unreasonable when she said they said over a hole, because they can cut that closet, they can cut that little strip at the end of the door. Yeah, so they can correct a lot of it.
Well, he said initially he said, well, if we have to remove that seam that's the door, very good, we have to move that whole strip out and redo it. That would be one strip, that wouldn't be all that much, but.
I think if he puts the quarter on that, it's all okay. And if he redoes that first layer, the first level, he should do all that correctly. I mean,
It's a 13, the carpeting is 13.
If it was my home, I'd have to do it. But I understand there's also logistics involved in timing and taking out the stage where we're gonna put them, we can't put them together, we're gonna do the fabric floor soon, we can't. Where's everything gonna go?
Well, there's really two different components also. There's the carpet going the wrong way, which is just take that off the table because it wasn't instructed. But truly, I mean, if you look at it, it was installed incorrectly. So just at a fundamental level, it was installed incorrectly. It's not a cheap thing. It's an entire room. This is clubhouse. If we're redoing it, obviously we redid that room for a purpose, to have it refreshed and look better. And unfortunately, even though the quarter round might be an accommodation, we paid for this room to be redone correctly. I mean, that's common sense to not butt it up against the walls like that and to not piece together pieces in front of the door. Forget about ground and stuff like that. I mean, that's interpretation a little bit. So to me, I tend to agree with you because I hold this to a higher level than mine because parts of this clubhouse every however many years. So when we redo it, we have to have a contract to do it right. And again, if it wasn't such common sense, that how would somebody walk out there and think that that's okay? I mean, you see it right when you walk in.
And if you saw the guys that you have on film, the whole process, you see them, they just kind of get a, kind of air, fluid, pushed down, there's no rolling it, pressing it in, and it's just I don't think it was more than 2.5 to 3 hours to actually lay the carpet. So it was.
I think if he's gonna eat the cost, I think we could do it.
Well, did you see his options? He's giving us options. He didn't say he's taking the town. not demand, but we tell them this is the only way, you know, that we would like to perform. Then the question is, do they use the same guy?
If he's gonna use the same guy, maybe not the same actual technicians, same carpet company, he's gotta send the A-team out there to be on and make sure they do it.
I don't like this stuff.
And then do we want the C to go straight down the middle of the room and take a chance on the S and that?
Well, so here's my thing. So those two options, to me, and I agree with Andy, I don't like it. I think we paid them to do this job, good for it. And I think it's, to Jack's point, I think that sort of thing only happens when you have somebody that just hires people under them to come in and do a job, they don't take responsibility and post supervision, making sure the quality project is done, reviewing it, and, you know, if that's my business, I'm walking in there and saying, we screwed up. You know, I'm not waiting for you to come to me, or, you know, I'm recognizing right away, because it's obvious.
Yeah, I agree.
So I trust your judgment, and I agree with you. I don't trust you.
No, I'm on public record now. We're good.
We have a wrecking ball, that's more.
I was concerned about the CMAS stuff, seeing it, because the flow of the carpet should have been typically, as you come to the door, it goes up the rise, that means if the carpet is 13 and a half, and you got 27, you're gonna have a seam somewhere out here in the middle, it's gonna be in that first 8 feet, and then up on the second, be 6 feet, and another 6 feet. But if the seams are done right, you won't see them in the back. The only place you'll see that seam is where electric would be, you know, in the center. But you've got to make sure there's, you know, you put seams together, you really don't see them, and it's just, it's the quality of the work. And that way you'd have it done the right way.
How would you ask them?
Just asking to redo it. We haven't paid them the second portion of it. They haven't denied our request, they just, we're in the middle of discussion right now. So make sure she goes back in with stronger language and says, you know, look, we understand your position, but this is not the quality that we expected. This is a high quality area and there's multiple issues. We want to be prepared.
Well, what exactly we asked? Look the pattern too, or?
Yes, get all the carpet.
You know, unfortunately, it's redo it and do it right. And make sure you're watching so that it's done right and you're doing it the third time. So,
With that, not Teresa's question. You know.
absolutely, his responsibility.
Yeah, does he have other work schedule?
No,
Oh, wait, wait, wait.
honestly, we did a fantastic job in the fitness center. I entrusted him to do care.
Make sure you
Now
say
I
okay.
lost some, my questioning it, so, yeah, I wouldn't invite him back to it.
We have a general consensus here that everybody's unhappy with it. I guess the best move would be to authorize Teresa and the chairman to renegotiate or repair here with stronger.
Well, the repairs, they have to do.
Right.
Exactly.
That would be the intent, so.
You want a motion for that or?
Yeah, let's say.
President, we want to formalize the motion, sort of, we're not part of it. Yeah. And I'm not, I told the contract, I mean, there's two sections that I was cited, because the block at it, first is the manner of performance, which is, it should be done in the boardman like manner, satisfaction of the district, in accordance with best management practices. Obviously, the schemes, I don't think will meet that. And then the compensation section clearly says that, you know, you should cover the remainder 75%. After work is done, staff is expected to find out from the work. So it is not completed per contract, but even though the location might be off, there seems to be other issues at play.
So you're gonna ask them to read a direction.
Well, they're not reorder the project.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think what I'm gonna do, if you all agree with me, I'm gonna call Max Warren, who has installed stuff like that, and I'm gonna ask him to look at this, and give me everything.
Sure.
So at least, you know, he can come back and say, well, I know, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
He's telling us that the best practice, is all that, we don't know that.
Let me ask this question. So you're looking to bring someone to look at the quality of work. Is there a fee for that?
No, I don't think that's, if you wanted to replace it, how much would you cover? I get it.
Sounds good.
No, it sounds like we agree to come together.
Right, that's, Lisa, do you have anything else in your, before you want to go?
Yeah, I do. Phoenix schools update, we're looking at opening the school day sometime next week. The last school most likely will not be ready by Monday, but at least we can get everything filled, and we can open the school day. So, no safety concerns, just go up, that area, so they don't go in that pool, so it can.
The resort pool, be open.
Yeah, we're all able to do so. And then, next week we'll also be doing leak detection tests, to make sure there's no leaks as well. And they can close one pool at a time to do that, so. That won't be an issue. Ladies restroom renovation, they did, the county office did their first down payment, so they haven't gotten it yet, but as soon as they get it, we'll start the process. What else is on that?
You know, I had a chance to look at the tanks that were put in out there.
Yeah, funded.
When I looked at them, we talked with Chris, I talked with Chris on a couple occasions, how he was doing the job. And the initial fiberglass tanks were just set in mud basically. And so with all that heavy 8,000 pounds, water pressure, they sank over time and built in there. Added more plastic, the hinges broke, it just disaster. So they're going to put in like a foot and a half of gravel down there, and then 6 to 8 inches of concrete out there. And the tanks put in, they put them on this bare metal scaffolding almost like. And instead of being embedded, which I thought they were being embedded in the footers, they're just sitting on a couple 2x4s, another piece of concrete to get them leveled up. And I thought, that's not right. He said, well, we're not relying on that. That's just the position. What we would do is we will backfill with dirt and water it in and tackle. Basically, it's the dirt underneath it that will hold the weight of those. It's not the scaffolding. That's just a skeleton, and it's not really meant to hold it. So it kind of delayed my fears a little bit.
It sounds good, but I mean, if we have a rainy season, I feel so see like the cracks in it, it's sank or something.
But that's the way it's supposed to be done. I mean,
so what happens if something messes up? I don't know what our contract is.
well, we still, how much money has he received on the job?
Well, I don't know how much money you received, but I can figure the contract for that month.
I just wonder if it's shifted and, once you're relying on water and dirt, so if it's settled incorrectly, because you might float on that metal cage he's putting on.
Well, he said that, he said when I came in the other day, the tanks were actually floating, and I said to Teresa, you mean you had like 3 feet of water in those middle and they were floating? I can't believe that.
Well, anyway, we worked in the issue today, there's straight.
It looks and sounds fine.
Well,
Does it look that different?
we have 30 days to pay him, right? That final payment. So we'll wait, 30 days, so hopefully nothing will think we're.
Water extra.
But then again, in 4, 5, 6 months time,
But he hasn't started backfilling. He said he was backfilling. That's why we want you back to see it beforehand.
So, was there anything else on the report? So I know there was discussion of pool table. Putting here in the gathering room, I don't know how y'all feel about that. I personally don't like the idea of making a billiards pool hall, for rentals and parties and, but that would be strictly up to the board. I would recommend it. I would more maybe recommend a pool table outside. Like you might have outdoor pool tables. But if you did decide to put a pool table in here and that's for the resident that was selling one, actually it's pretty nice. So she heard that we might be doing that, but she sent me this email. She hasn't sold it yet. $1,850 just the table.
Because I think it's an extremely rare occasion when the board goes over the top of you and says you have to do something or take something you don't want. So if you don't want a pool table here, I doubt that we're gonna want to.
But I just wanted to share my idea about it. I don't know.
When I saw the video of one of the first parties in the new room. I saw the kids climbing over the chair. It was like they thought this was a jungle gym.
We're already climbing, and jumping all over.
I mean, and I could see the drinks being spilled, you know, something like this would go. How long is that gonna last?
Oh, it's not, no problem at all.
Anyway, that's my idea, but I would definitely entertain a few people out.
If there's space,
Yeah,
I
we
think
want-
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
How much is that?
I have to look into it, I don't know that much.
It's,
Yeah.
on the outside, but we cover it.
Yeah.
20 seconds.
And then you just get some license to get the.
Yeah, keep the
stick.
equipment here, with the pile on the wall. That's all I have. Oh, I don't. Two more things. So, two more things. Just so you know, because we did open the water fountains, it's been allowed, you know, residents asking around the water fountains, but it's open. So water fountains are open, tennis ball machines, they can rent again. The fitness center, the equipment, I just wanted to ask, you know, there's still equipment that take off just to maintain social distancing. So there's been requests to go back to normal with that. I don't know how you feel about that, but I didn't want to make that. Because if it was up to me, I would just say, okay, that's like normal again, but.
So I recall correctly, it was the vet's recommendation that the equipment themselves not be more than 6 feet apart to further enhance the policy. But the question that I would come back to you is, were we okay with the physical equipment not being a part of the policy, the residents being 6 feet apart?
Yeah, I mean, especially with the governor's executive order, we went to phase 3, allowing gyms 100% capacity, there's no requirement, either from the state or the county. From the insurance perspective, they recommended signage and policies and guidelines. So, you know, folks are following that, and so equipment's not 6 feet apart, I think it'll be fine. There's also, other than going in my report, but bill that passed, Senate Bill 22, Governor signed March 29th, that provides COVID tort protection for businesses and local. So in the event that someone claims they got injured or got infected from their premises, a lot of burden has been shifted onto them before they can file suit for their own claim. So that should deter any potential liability or law.
So from your perspective, we have no issue with restoring the gym equipment capacity as long as we maintain it. Evans.
Sure.
What are the guidelines right now?
CDC 6 feet apart.
Right, masks and.
So you could be an adult and say if there's somebody at the machine next to you, like,
Right, yeah.
if that's your concern.
But I think that's, you know, at the time we made the decision, we were a little handcuffed by a lot of regulations changing with the orders and stuff like that. I'm in favor of going back to full equipment capacity.
Do we have cleaning, how's that? Is there any type of cleaning that we're still doing or?
Yeah, residents, have look at clean equipment after each use, so we have a clean crew that comes, you know, every night, clean and driveway stuff.
And again, it's time is key, when you put that up there, they make an informed decision of whether they are not only.
So is that the same thing I'm wearing?
Well, I'll give you that. So. the-
Well, hold on, let's not move topics,
Oh.
we'll block one end. Full capacity on equipment? Are we consensus on that?
Yeah, I mean, because how many people are in there at one time?
Right, and like I feel as adults or whatever, you feel you're not safe or you're not comfortable, you just don't go next to that person, you know, go work
To
out.
piggyback on what you just said, in what Thomas said, but we had, teenage fingers while in there, right, younger age. Is that playing here? Is that okay? Same thing, right?
There's
We
not,
haven't
yeah,
changed the age.
there's not been any different analysis or requirement.
And masks, lately, you know, we have a lot of residents, you know, coming in without masks, you know, saying, you know, I need to wear a mask, I got my vaccine. Well, I do have staff still that, you know, is very skeptical about people coming in and out of here. So, right now, I'm still enforcing the mask, I'm asking everybody to wear masks, but if people just decide not to. I mean, there's no, I mean, the restrictions by the governor have been taken off, so this, I can't tell people, right, I can only ask them, I mean, or put them out of the clubhouse.
We can still require it, so the governor just restricted, local governments from finding, we don't have finding authority to begin with. But neither the state, the governor, or even the County County repealed their mask ordinance, they did not say we're preempting a business or a CDD or any other entity from enacting their own requirements for their facilities. Arguably, their original mask mandate didn't even apply to the CDD because a lot of things were under the definition of business and we definitely weren't under the definition of governmental operations because they confined it strictly to facilities and patients. So we can set our own mask mandate requirements, and you are not authorized to enter the facility unless you're wearing a mask.
So I wanted to ask the board's direction on that, I'm personally, I'm tired of masks, so, I'm over it and I can't breathe half the day, but I do it because I respect the staff, and the staff is, still nervous about this, and then if someone gets COVID or exposed to COVID, and no one wants to work. So I think if we let it free, and, I think we're more, than up for closing the clubhouse more. So that's just my take.
I can say anecdotally, at least, I don't have any clubhouses that I've come across that take away the mask requirement. And a lot of it is for, the feeling towards the employees that are concerned about it, basically. As well as, clearly there's some residents that want to wear masks. There's no way of laser ways proving people have the vaccine or not, but generally speaking, people aren't going to be holding up their vaccine card, so.
People removing masks in there, they can't get oxygen.
Well, they can use, they don't have to wear masks. Walking in, walking out, even the parties, we don't babysit the rifles, but, within the contract that, we still have to follow the mask.
Myself, torn on this one. I'm a big proponent of government staying out of business. Higher, Pasco County removed it, schools about to remove it, governors removed it. I feel like we're a government, and so like what I would do the lowest form, go above and over the top. Same time, I know we have coding and staff and resident impacts, to this. I think I find myself more of, Teresa, if you feel like you're comfortable with it, right? We've always said this is if you're comfortable with it and you feel like you can manage the staff, whether that is finding staff that will work in that environment or not, you still have to manage the staff. I have no issue not managing it. On the other hand, I feel like that's being to you, back to the quality of life for people. And you want the best policy in place. I also have an issue with supporting that. I want to make sure many people are comfortable with policy. You're not going to make everyone happy.
I mean, you're not going to make everyone happy. However, I've recently come into a situation where my son at school actually attracted the Navy. So me personally, I kind of different where I think we should continue to mandate masks because you do put other people at risk. You want to keep yourself safe.
So I'm still, I think that's, I'm gonna mandate the mask, still, like I said, people, a sense of comfortableness and, peace of mind for now. But I think once the schools opt out of it, I think other less to do that.
I tend to agree with that. I definitely don't think we should be trailblazers in this regard because you are going to make people upset, whatever you do. So at least from a consistency perspective, again, we're not doing anything different than any other CDD, east out of 100 or so that I do. But I do think that once you start seeing schools and private businesses, then it's a whole different story, in my opinion.
So I think I'm comfortable with whatever you are. I think my opinion, I think the same. Still, think the math helps you, and maybe I think you know, if I had it before, why not go on that? Like if I get it, I'll go back. Maybe walk around. I live in a great country, so I thought we pushed it aside. if we're gonna open the schools, I think the people, we probably could say they will, if that's the case, we will need to do part of the with that. And so,
Or if we're staffing outside, I would give them the option of go where it's outside, but they're still coming close contact present, but I would give them that option. Whether that, it does get hard out
Sure.
there.
So the schools have just associated themselves with the expiration of the, so rather than tie ourselves to what the schools are doing.
right,
Policies, but if we instead say that we're going to, you know, when the governor's order expires, emergency order, we're not under state of emergency anymore. Are you saying for staff and? prison?
Well, yeah, I mean,
That's
it would be personal preference at that
Yeah,
point.
sure.
you know.
Anybody can wear it. That's what I want.
Right.
well, so how would we communicate that? Effectively? You know, what would you recommend?
I don't know.
No,
We
I'm
need to
saying, because
communicate.
still have the young letter on, and that's.
Yeah, I say something, government property. In your, you guys seen the guidance from, I have not seen it come out. recently.
Nothing updated since their original guide.
This is one to check out.
So are you saying maybe take the signage down? Or are you saying-
No, I want to put some new signage on, saying what is no longer required, like where one is good or safe. So what I'm amended, that's what the county did, that's what the governor did, that's what he has, is recommended to know.
Okay, so we just put that to the door.
Well, now we don't want to, no, we want it required.
No, I'm saying when we get to
Oh,
that.
exactly.
But it's sort of an extension of the no shirt, no shoes, no service, you know? And it didn't matter what anybody else says, if this is my house, my business, where the state's free to do whatever they want, you wanna come in my store, you wear, you know, shirt and shoes, so. I have a little different area.
Right, so just to clarify, you're gonna keep the policy as is until the governor's order, and when the governor's order expires, under state of emergency. And you'll change the signage to say that masks are recommended by the CDC, but optional. And that'll apply to residents and staff.
So do we know when that's coming off?
Point, right?
Oh, really? That's far.
Yeah, I said it's.
So that can verify here. So,
I think you'll still have plenty of more now.
Well, it's only 2 weeks.
yeah, I think you'll still have.
I'm gonna let you operate between the big change, you know, assuming that happens.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be like Wednesday. I
So
don't know
seriously,
why
just to
we
practice.
think it Make a break with the mask.
But it
I mean,
might just
months
look
down the
better
road,
for-
but-
You might just look better for prototype.
Right,
Because we're not figuring.
right.
For practice, there's 3 people and don't have masks on. What are you
I
gonna do?
understand.
You gonna tell us to put our masks on? I'll go get my mask. Is that how it's gonna be though? Like whenever people come in, we have to
I
do that, right?
can't force, but I can suggest, or I can say, can you please leave the clubhouse if you don't have your mask? Be away from them.
Well, John, just want to make sure you clarify, that's the current policy.
Yep.
We're actually talking about changing it so the masks are optional as of the expiration.
No, I'm just saying like with the enforcement, you know, it's
Oh.
required but not enforced. That's kind of like how I've always interpreted it.
Yeah.
But like if we're making or if you guys are making a policy right now that says, hey, we're gonna keep it in effect.
Well, we're still just asking people how to wear it in here, but you can't.
I can't
We're not
force
kicking
people,
people out.
but I'm not gonna kick people out. To me, I don't feel like I should kick people out of clubhouse because they're walking with that mask. Sorry, you can't move that mask. You just put your mask, so, you know, still required. And they just walk in and do it. A lot of people just walking out with the shirt over their nose and walk over and walk out. But for me, I'm thinking about the staff, okay? The staff is important because you need them to run the club. So, you know, that's what I'm thinking about. And then some people have some, efficiencies like that, so, you know.
But they're uncomfortable because I don't wear a mask, but they can wear theirs.
They would be, some would be uncomfortable if you go walking by them, Tommy's like, you don't have your mask.
Okay,
But
The
they,
minute someone has COVID or someone's exposed to COVID, I'm telling you now, they all pull out. And
So the date is April 26th.
April 26th.
Don't know that we ever made it a policy in the first place, but I don't mind fighting about it. So the motion would be upon the governor's order expiration of the emergency order. All the numbers, right, all the numbers are numbers. That will make masks optional and post that they're recommended. I'll second.
hey, rules are rules, gotta follow them. I don't want you to kick me out.
Yeah, okay, so, I don't know if the board had a chance to read an email, and the report was sent over, and my question would be, moving forward, so we know that we're doing the right thing here, so this particular person, in the clubhouse, he wasn't acting well, he was definitely doing things that he wasn't. The staff had called me, they were trying to get down to that about it, called the police. The police came and escorted the person out, called EMT, he was taken to the hospital, and the police said, you know, it appeared that this person was over.
But it was a resident.
This person is a resident, does not have an access card. I personally never saw him before, I know who he belongs to, but I know. The staff was worried if this person were to come back, is this something that we can, suspend him or trespass him due to his behavior? And write a police report?
But I think there's something, yeah, we've got the police support to support that. This is not something that.
Does it kind of meet the criteria?
Well, with respect to, you know, going to the women's restroom and not responsive.
I'm not talking about the egregious ones, but good, I want to make sure we meet standards for. It's not like we have to give them a warning, and we have to, okay.
Given that this kind of behavior, it's not like a one-time offense, use a foul language, something like that. I don't know.
Okay, so this particular person be trespassed. So this individual, but not the family access card holder, right? So
Correct.
we cannot suspend the family access because someone in their family did something.
Right.
Right? So it would be.
How long is the suspension?
Well, it's gonna be a trespass.
Well, look at that, that's for Elizabeth theory, but we're not trespassing, we can never enter into the facility again. So whether or not we're going to do it right here, or whatever, you can do it, a warrant is longer, but anytime you go more than 60 to 90 days, there's a risk of them wanting to challenge it or. So how often have you come to it, or you, so that's also places. Anytime later or early. No.
Yeah, I've never seen him and did not.
So if he doesn't have an access card, then.
Well, we still want him on property. Basically.
Right, we can still say.
He's a trespasser.
That's what I'm saying.
But the
We
length
have
of
a
time.
trespass, or we could send him a letter stating that he's suspended.
So the max recommended would be 90 days.
I would say so, unless the board, you know, feels strongly, I read the report, unless something else comes from the police report. Without an issue, I don't see an issue with 90.
The 90-day suspension.
Well, we're trespassing.
Or trespass.
It wouldn't be a suspension if it doesn't have trespass. Yeah, it's a trespass.
So 90-day trespass.
Did we send them a letter?
Well, I mean, we've got to see, right, like I said, we'll go to the report.
Right, we're going to need a report and coordinate with the police department, so they'll have the information as well. So subject to whatever their recommendations in their report are, I think, other staff, the issue, they're not going to in coordination with.
I'll make that.
That's all I have.
Andy with the, first on the motion to accept. Award.
Teresa, logistically, you have quite a number of different staff here, kind of cycling out. And in 15, 30, 90, 60, 100, nobody's gonna remember the dates there. So, how do you handle that? Do we have a list that you'll have on like FA?
I'll talk to all the staff about it, find something, and then I'll put it in the database when it's listed, and then reiterate staff.
What day?
But he doesn't even have access card, so it's, you know, I have to show him, I have to show them a picture of him and say, you see this guy on property, and, well.
I just don't want to, I don't want to get into a weird situation on 91 days.
Right.
And we call the police.
Yeah,
So I want to make sure we're going to do diligence on procedural. Handle it.
And they would call the police without kind of contacting you anyway.
And even though you may not have access, you could still be a guest, someone who does not cover the
Right.
And just for the record, you're right, it was 2145 was the last extension of the weather order, so it is 6.6
Without an extension, or without a pass, how do you get in? Does somebody open the door for them?
We're a public building, so if someone comes in to actually the restroom, but people in the restroom, like, yes, people will climb on the field, you know, vendor programs, you know, no one, you know, a lot of people are.
I mean, he had it, unless the door was left open, somebody held the door
Yeah,
open.
someone, he came in behind him.
So that should be included.
So what's the deal with that?
This is not open doors.
Oh, the bathrooms, yeah, no, so far.
Is that why I got to come up on 9 o'clock? Just time check forever on it.
I don't have any idea.
If you don't break.
Thank you.
And I'm in the rush for your section.
I'll make it quick, maybe I just want to give the board a quick update on the legislative session, we're about 16 days till it expires. I mentioned the big one, Central 22 already. There's a few of the bills that we're monitoring, that may impact business operations, getting in the back end, but the one that we're hoping to move forward is House 435, that's the newspaper notice that allows us to publish our meeting notices on our website rather than the newspaper, which pays for our money. It passed the House, it's now been referred to the Senate, it's kind of lagging there, not only seeing the movement, but we'll see there's still an opportunity for them to consider it. A few of the bills that we're monitoring, make some minor adjustments with respect to the back end of how we do RFPs, what we consider an evaluation criteria. And that's the reason why I'm kind of holding off on the bid passages also. According to John, it might get a little bit delayed. Some other minor stuff with respect to ethics forms, publications of languages, central requirements of training for supervisors and public officials. It's nothing stuff, there's nothing that's going to be very cost prohibitive, but it hasn't been passed. We'll provide an update and next board meeting with respect to make things that. There's 2 follow-ups that I'm still working on, but we're going to talk about extra shortly. Have any questions or anything?
Hearing none. Forward to district engineer, finding more updates on the phone, district manager report, does anybody have anything on about?
Can you just keep a close eye as this pool discussion moves forward? We've got to make sure the reserve study gets updated so the future maintenance plan, make sure it's not lost in the process.
Right, so the next board supervisor meeting is May 12th, 6:30 p.m. I looked at that erosion at that residence house in John today. The recurring issue with that. So everybody's familiar already. Yeah, is that what it was?
No, this is a grassland.
Oh, no. Okay.
They dug their roof gutters. Washed out. The north side there. Huge. Falling hazard, I think.
Is that one we noticed? Or Or is this a no?
No, in the past, we've already discussed this in the past.
Yeah, okay.
It's still standing and really at the point, because in the past, the board had made a decision that if the resident caused this erosion, then the resident should be responsible.
So they're not fixing it?
So, no, they're still kind of in the fog that they want the CDD fixed. So we gotta come to a point to where maybe letters or whatever needs to be done.
Have we sent them a formal letter from us?
Not my knowledge.
So, yeah,
I can contact them, basically let them know that, I mean, I don't know if you might even give him the option to fix it, or if you just want to fix it, tell him for it. Because I don't know if he's just gonna throw dirt in there and they saw on top, you know what I mean?
The CDD.
Yeah, I don't recommend, that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't recommend my knowledge.
Well, the homeowner needs to fix their fabulous grading, but they need to.
Well, the roads are, yeah, sure.
Is this SOPA saying a little bit, was this the one that we were gonna coordinate with SOPA? And we use the finance authority to try and help us out, or?
Yes.
Okay.
That was Bellafield, I think, is where we finally went.
Okay, did you want to use the same process, or do we want to send our letter or done?
I think it needs to be multi-pronged. Yeah, so we should notify them that they have to fix something on their property, so it's jurisdiction. And then we should also, I mean, you said for us to fix it, so what do we do? We'll just notice them that we're gonna fix it by X date or what?
Right, so I think we send them a notice letter, essentially saying that you need to, and again, whether we want that to come from us and SOPA or just SOPA, and then you call a letter saying pursuant to the letter you received from SOPA, you're required to fix this. However, since you caused the damage to our property, we're gonna get a proposal. And we're going to have that proposal, we're gonna pass it there, or they will follow up later on. I like to, if at all possible, screw that in there and say, we expect, check the reimbursement to the amount that we have.
We do have a proposal.
We do, okay.
I just want to get the ball, get direction from you guys, get the ball on this.
Yeah.
Long overdue, so I think.
And the homeowners have all their insurance company too.
And then with that, say, hey, you know, it's $6,000 for this, whatever, move your pipe out of the ground.
I'm also interested.
I'll second it.
And also in the verbiage is to include or send us your insurance, right? Something to that.
Yeah, just basically let them.
They may not know that's not true.
They or their insurance company will be responsible.
All boards in favor of that motion? Opposed, motion carries. Next forward.
What is the price of that?
The one proposal that, Tanya had received was $6,200. And we have another proposal coming in. But we do have one at us.
Has he made any change to the drainage system?
Still, it's just like that.
Well, I can get Amy to write a violation about it.
Buzzword.
Because that's.
Taylor's gonna contact you.
Huh?
Taylor's gonna contact you to do that.
I would bet the bill is going to make changes.
Because that's,
Has to be seized.
that's improperly, that should be routed to the street.
Not to,
You really need to take, you can sort of, and it's kind of probably want to redo it eventually somehow else, but right, immediate fix, pop it right off. You know what I mean? And then you go do it first.
Don't exacerbate. What's the address on that?
I'll have a handy draft.
Give it to me tomorrow. It should be a text or something.
You're in the grass room, very first house on the right.
First house on the right.
Immediate, right on the corner.
Okay. That's pretty much all I have. Unless you guys have any questions for me.
you've been doing great.
Yeah, I mean, I just heard me and John talking about it. We can follow that. We're going for a while, so discussion on asphalt, that's right.
No update on the bond up again, just like that, well, not answering any questions if there are any, but don't really expect anything on there, and I'm receiving news from the county either, that they rescheduled it.
For 12, can we get out another formal follow-up letter?
I'll be on call for, and then I'll follow up.
Okay. If I recall correctly, the extension that they requested from the county was to postpone it until a hybrid stop.
Right.
I have not officially heard when the hybrid is going to stop, but I suspect after the governor's order expires, the county will probably do something similar.
Perhaps, but from what I've heard, the county would like the option of hybrid. Yeah, it's giving the public participation and it's giving a little more control of meetings and that, you know, the mute button is a lot better than people. You just put it out in the building, so.
I mean, the few meetings I've watched, there's only been 3 people maybe on it.
Right.
It's usually the attorneys that are joining remotely, less than the residents are doing it. Anyway, the postponement was based on the hybrid expiration, so if we're gonna do that, we'll just wanna make sure there's not a large gap in our last contact. And when this does spin back up, would it be appropriate to ask the county to move this forward? I mean, granted an extension from them as an interested party.
Is this finally resolved?
Yeah, that's something, you know, this has been tabled, it's been long going, we feel like, you know, in our opinion, there's no reason to continue the postponement of it. We request that this is moved.
We certainly make a request, but at the end of the day, the petition is coming from, the administration.
They decline it. I'm actually okay if they do decline it, but it will go to show that we are not an idle party and, you know, uninterested in this. We're very interested in it. We wish the county to make an action, right?
Yeah. But would it timing wise be better? Are they gonna officially say they're gonna stay on the hybrid after the governor's thing, so should we wait till 5/1 with that thing? Not that
The expiration of the executive order has really nothing to do with the ability to use hybrid because it's really only the governor's authorization of virtual meetings for forum purposes that the governor has any executive order. So
you can still reference that it's gonna be a hybrid moving forward.
it's very possible that that's here to stay. Right.
So you can reference that in the letter saying, originally we said this is gonna be tabled until then. It looks like that's gonna continue, but we might have a request.
I like that the timing anyway. Let's call them, give them a week and a half, 2 weeks or something, send them a letter, and then let's contact the county shortly after to request that, you know, this be forward. Again, we've spoken at all of the hearings, you know, the original ones, we were part of it. That's how it worked. And again, if they decline it, then that's fine too. I like to have them on record declining to vote, right? Move forward. A gentle note. S19, I have no other update as well. I do Bingley County planner was assigned to there 2-3 weeks, and the response is always the same, and it's completely tabled at this point. The applicant has not moved it forward. There are open items, and to my knowledge, there's been no additional discussion. They've not rescinded it, but there's been no additional discussion.
You saw the other one got passed.
Yeah, I didn't see the other one get passed. I would hope that that was a gimme in the region, and if and when S19 were to go forward, we would say, come on, guys, you just added the red one here. Seriously, you're oversaturated. I think it helps our argument. That's it for Spelman.
Financial update, kind of this in our workshop, but right now we're trending under budget, $270,000.
Approximate cost of a pool.
A lot of things will catch up over the course of the year, so it's just probably gonna take days. But yes.
So I didn't, that's not public record, but I didn't want to get into it with them right here, but I like the idea of them saying we can sign the contract if we like it, not execute it for a cycle.
Any questions regarding the financial update at all? Otherwise, next discussion on 2 hours that was mentioned, budget workshop. I guess we consider that. I think that's more of a board, but. Yeah, I think that's key for this. another thing.
Would be able to set the alarm and party down.
I agree with you, and I agree, and again, very rarely with what I ever recommend to go above it, I won't misconstrue it, but, I would just post is that 4:30 in the morning, anybody can walk in the building if they want. And we restrict that by policy, on what they can do, where they can go, jump and pull out of the gym, at 5 a.m., right, when it's sunrise. Public facility, I'm not sure why. I understand our risk of saying, hey, there might be, people go drinking and more likely to come to the pool or something of that nature, and not using common sense. But they could do that at 4:30 is more likely, probably not, but I don't know, all the logic strings kind of leads me to go, if we're open at 4 a.m., why not be open at 3? And why not 2 a.m., why not 1 a.m.? And so if it's because we think people are going to behave badly, we have policies that already kick in with it. So I just want to make sure that there's full discussion on it. And the only reason is because we're afraid people are going to misbehave. When they misbehave, we have the ability to do it. I'll let you go there.
Just one thing to consider, if you do that hours like that, alarm. You would not be alarm.
What happens at 4:30?
Alarms turn off. But you wouldn't have alarms at all.
Yeah.
You should not have alarm systems.
So smart burglar is going to come at 4:31 a.m.
And to kind of, on Teresa's standpoint, when you think about access. So I think you're 15 years old or older, and you have an access card. So now you got to think about youth who want to hang out. Oh, I have access to the gym. Let me go to the gym and hang out. I just think that.
We have policy.
But again, I think that may be a liability for us.
It's not a liability for you.
I think it's a liability for it myself. If it were me, I would not have this place open unless there's staffing. That's just.
So it's actually kind of a secondary point is the other thing. We've already accepted the risk of having people here when there's no people here. So it seems like we should either be on one side of that fence or the other. I don't see how 4:30 a.m. is dividing line. It seems to be you guys staff or not have staff.
So got kids will stay out till 1:32 in the morning. They won't
be here. They won't be here when we learn.
And they won't get up and come up here.
If they come to the gym at 2 in the morning and they hang out in the gym and they don't make a mess, disrupt anything, do anything that would be outside of policy.
Is something that's
So-
open 3:30 in the morning?
I don't know.
Huh?
Very similar.
Are they 24 hours?
They do it like 5.
They're 24 hours.
Well, we
Twenty-four hours.
move it back to 5 o'clock.
Yeah, like,
They have a pretty cool policy as part of it.
Look, we have lots of doctors in the area, we have lots of people who work night shifts, and so, maybe 2 in the morning is what they need to work out. The logic fits that there are people who want to use our facility when time is closed. And if our logic is that things are going to misbehave, close the building when there's not staff here, or we should open it up, we're already open.
So there we just open.
Yeah, they have to get in, they don't have to.
Well, the
Or
answer
you
is yes.
and you have to leave, or you give it access from here, but then you have to open access for everybody here. I have a suggestion is, like I said, I'm opposed to it, but would you ever consider, charging a fee for those people who want, to come after hours? Like, close the gathering at 10. If you want to stay later, you can pay a fee.
I don't want to penalize, personally, I don't want to penalize anybody, night shift workers, people who work 24 hours, healthcare workers, all that sort of stuff. I don't want to penalize. In fact, if anything, it should be. Nobody's here at 4 a.m., so what's the difference? If you misbehave, then we can reevaluate it or you know, suspended and all the stuff that we would do with anybody else.
I mean, the fact that we have facilities here doesn't necessarily mean that people buy into our, move into here, think they're gonna, at some point in time, they have for our access. I think that's.
No, we do have residents that are requesting. Right? This isn't 15-year-olds saying I want access now. This is adults saying, hey, I'd like to use the facility for me. And I think that's a real request. And if our logic again is misbehavior by people who are not requesting it, then we address it.
Does it affect the insurance policy?
Check,
Next.
John, what is your thought on
Well, it's been a lot of things.
Four.
Can we give like super access to this board?
Well, no, I'm just saying that's how many people have asked, but you never know what that representation is. Just because I didn't get a thumb or somebody say, yes, I really want it. It's not like the dog park where I had, 38 people say, yep, sounds great, really want it.
I think the vast majority of people are not going to make it, right? But we have plenty of medical people that work, with any other job that are, I don't know why we're limiting it.
But if they work second shift, they get up in the morning and do everything else. If they work nights, they're gonna get up till 7 in the morning.
That's us assuming a lot about other people's lives, which I don't want to necessarily do.
So just to, let's just assume that there's 4 people, some small number of people are using the different days, so maybe you have one person here every couple of days for an hour from, 1 till 2 in the morning, just hypothetically, if you have that every day, you have that kind of fix. By doing that, we're essentially no longer the building, at least potentially, for the majority of those overnight hours is completely empty, and we have no alarm. To me, that's a problem, and I recognize 4 o'clock, some people break into this, but, it's all about risk and reward, beyond kids coming in and partying. You're absolutely right. If kids do that, probably whoever's doing that. But if this was the difference of opening at, we're staying open 1 hour later, but talking about the overnight hours, I just don't know. We don't have people here a lot more today. I just can't imagine that there's that many people in the overnight hours that would make this a sensible thing to do with what you're, potentially putting at risk.
So let's talk about the risk. Everything is alarmed and zoned, so it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right?
I'm hearing that
The office
it does.
well, that just happens to be how we're programmed, right? Sure, I'm sorry, we can't program what we want, right? So we have a program that's kind of on, turn on, off. The office doors are metal doors that are already locked, right? And they are alarmed, so we can be able to alarm. And the cafe door the same, right? Keeping the cafe door, right? So if we armed the sensitive areas, which would be the cafe and the office, which already have alarms, so there'd be no cost, they're calling the system. We could still have an alarm system whenever we want. In fact, we could actually increase the alarm time right now. Enable the alarm when there's no staff, which is not what's current today. So we could actually tweak the system quite a bit here and actually make the offices and cafe more secure at the same time.
Is there a bypass, like, in most homes, bypass that goes on? Is the alarm set up that way today? Or can you do it?
I have to call and find out, but it's only been programmed.
I believe the short answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a coding.
here's my thing. So if we can bypass the gym and everything else is alarmed,
But you have to bypass the pool gate, the door across from the pool gate.
I mean,
Bypass motion sensors.
If we're gonna do it, we would just have to.
yeah, absolutely. So if that's the case,
So, and that definitely makes a difference for me also, only going back to my fundamental point, which is a bigger overriding issue from my perspective, is that I don't think we should have it without anybody here at all. And I think it's 4:30 in the morning, because if Mr. Smith is over there lifting weights by himself at 2 o'clock in the morning or at 4 o'clock in the morning, when nobody's here at 4:30 or whatever, he drops away on his head, you know, what's our protection from a liability perspective? At least, you know, the lawsuit comes, and you know, rhetorical to a sense, but in my opinion, we put ourselves at great risk to have folks working out when nobody's here on site. If it were my own personal business, so to speak, I would have it open at, you know, 5 a.m. and I'd have staff. I would always have a staff member of some sort here when people are potentially working out. You can put a panic button in there, so if somebody's in an office, you know, they can be notified if something goes wrong. Cameras, obviously. But again, that's a bigger issue for me in general. I know it's not part of this discussion, but.
Well, I think that's why we have. But I think we do need to get on the same page of, should it be open on their staff or not? And we go from there. And see if I want, right? 4:30 and lunch.
Yeah, I fully admit that. That's why I bring up that, you know, my issues are not necessarily 1 a.m., 2 a.m. It's really unstaffed on me.
Is the unstaffed unmanned with signage policy for the most part?
Yeah, I think the first concern from Kroger are there reasonable expenses that it's not only with that facility, but any of our facilities, we don't provide CPR or lifeguard or monitoring for the purpose of health safety welfare, it's more of a protection of access to infrastructure and enforcement of our regulations and policy. So there's no expectation that, you know, this is a 24/7 monitoring facility that stays secured, locked. And again, additional signage, and if we need to, we could look at waivers, but that doesn't necessarily preclude it. That gentleman that Andy referred to, just has said that he or his family may not try to the district, but they have a plaintiff's attorney that says, I have paid for you, and I'll just take 30%.
We also have police funds that have not been fully used in some time, and we've allocated them so far to this. So we could ask for, you know, some sporadic coverage. Sure. So it could be random as well, especially if we were to adjust this policy with the requester. It's not a guarantee. It's always overtime officers that can take the extra shifts, right? So maybe that's another level of mitigation while if we were going south on coverage. Having a cop car parked out front.
Oh, yeah, that type of stuff definitely makes sense.
With an officer sitting in there getting the key. That's everybody right now. It's money we've already budgeted for, so that's why we want.
Well, to me, it doesn't reach the threshold 4 or 5 people in a community of 2,500 or 5,000 people. This doesn't seem to justify opening ourselves to whatever risk there might be.
But we can do, I know it's not one more than like you're asking about, but we can do a hybrid. I feel a lot more safe. We can lock down some of the areas more, even more secure than the car. And maybe we just don't allow between midnight and 3, which are the most likely accidents that come in and do something stupid.
I still think if they're doing something stupid concept, if they do something stupid, they'll punish them for it. I mean, it's, you know, I don't preemptively punish even the 4 or 5 people that want it. Maybe I'd be in favor of not doing the weekend. Right? I'll make a motion, 24 hours, we tweak the alarms to make sure the office and cafes secure Monday through Friday.
Come on, just one more.
I'll say it.
Okay. 24/7, you said with.
Additional
Security.
sectional
Switch
security.
it. Yeah, the cafe and the office alarm.
And only Monday.
Money.
And
There's
the
other areas, yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that wouldn't be alarmed is the pool gate, the door across the pool gate, the bathrooms. The exit door, the front door, which is gonna go out.
areas to be determined by management.
Friday. Do we have a second on that? Any further discussion before we vote? All right, take a vote then. All in favor, please state aye. All right, it's a close one. So I got Josh, I got Tom, was there anybody else that was in favor? Any opposed? Nay. Motion does not carry.
Next up.
Minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held March 10th, 2021. Motion approved by Eddie.
I'll second.
All board members in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. O&M expenditures for February 2021 are at $8,000. I'm sorry, this is for enterprise fund, $2,000, $1,713.37.
Motion.
Second by Jack. All over in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And it's tab 9, general fund.
I have a couple questions. One, reset the toilet, $600 some dollars. To put the Johnny crack in and reset the toilet, that seems excessive.
Was it our comment?
Alvarez one. How long were they here
I gotta go back and look.
I mean, pull the toilet off, put a new Johnny crack in, $600.
for? 640.
Yeah. I'm just, that kind of blew my mind when I saw it. What number does that? Makes sense.
Well, that's what we've used, our fine. All our plumbing needs.
I have a question that may not be close to this particular meeting, but some of the vendors that we utilize, have we looked at different vendors for some of the jobs that we have? I mean, not be the right.
Well, for specifics, every vendor that we contracted with has been approved by the board. So if you wanted to be, if you want to be specific and, you know, take something else off for bid or both other things, you know, definitely.
If you're asking if we have a procedure for like annually reviewing them all, we don't. That's a thing, but typically what happens if they're not performing, that brings that up.
If you're talking about Spectrum, I've already had a phone call into them to see if they could,
I'm just talking about everything overall.
A lot of your like small job vendors, like your plumber and your electrician, generally, you might initially get prices, and then you'll have a relationship with that one person. You'll kind of keep going back and performing your regular routine services.
I just think some of the things that we have on here for maintenance issues, I think it may be a little bit.
Yeah, we get red flag with that.
That's just my concern. I would love to be able to, you know, go to vendors and say, hey, this is the project, you know, give me a cost. Versus, hey, we go to Alvarez and we do everything.
well, I gotta go back and look at the invoices and see what it is. It might have been more than just saying toilet. That might have been when we had the back up here in the electrical room. That was a huge project. That might have been, you know. What does it say on there?
It doesn't say, it just says Alvarez Plumbing, and it says, Jack said.
Looks like they pulled it, cleaned it, reset it, and then back.
The other thing about approving this one is it has the very Henry stuff, which is the carpet Henry. So we have to say, and whatever.
This is already paid, you're just ratifying.
Yeah, okay, I'm just questioning that. Was there more work other than just reset the toilet? That's
Yes,
what
they cleared out a line as well, so they had a stoppage on the main line, they ran cables and cleared it out.
That was the one in the conference room.
So you've got your labor costs are basically for 3 hours and 25 minutes. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not unrealistic. But mostly the clogging is probably the most possible.
And a lot of these companies also travel time as well, that's included in there as well.
Back to the very many, you're saying we're just ratifying, but it says balance due.
Well, this is the invoice, but it's already been paid and approved.
Oh, yeah.
Greg, yeah, I had Greg Henry's check in my office.
I was gonna
He
say,
had not
that-
been paid.
that
It
was-
went through, but he has not been paid.
I mean, as far as, mostly for the bill, they,
motion by Sean, second by Andy, all board members okay?
But I did want to address that I am looking at Spectrum bill to, adjust pricing, and I am looking at other prices for that.
Just look back on the comment, I think there's a balancing act of making sure that, you know, there's only those two resources, so I don't want them having to do.
Yeah, and I did that, and so, you know, when I was looking at a couple of different things, and I kind of brought this to attention about the spectrum thing, you know, when I looked at what that cost was, I was like, why are we spending $511 for TV and phone? I mean, that's kind of up there. Right. But I was just thinking about.
I think it's fair enough to raise flags.
Yeah, I just think overall with vendors, when we bring someone in, yeah, if someone does a great job, we may pay a little bit more for quality work. But if we're being ripped off, they should not be ripped off.
Well, if you think about
No
it,
one can get
most of
away
that
with that,
cost-
just like that.
all these roll up eventually into our budget. So while it may not say plumbing as a line item, it is, you know, kind of wrapped into a lot of maintenance. So if we start to get out of bounds on that too, that's also another opportunity. Let's say, why are we out of bounds? You know, trees, the tree removal has come up several times, and John continues to vet that vendor against other contractors as well, because that it's an expense that continues to go up. So it's definitely not something that you just like it.
No, understand.
It's an interesting point, that's happening. I'm doing that right now. Checking.
Sure.
Other vendors, the other vendors don't know that.
Yeah.
So that's happening right now.
Next up, supervisor request. And Josh.
So our current website, CCMS, our contract with it comes up for renewal actually in October. Regardless of that, they're actually in quite a breach. And so there is. I don't know what's happened with Renee or with what he's been doing, but the website changes have been in process for some time now and should have already been executed. And I have received no update. Taylor and Rosetta have had quite a few requests that have been sent to them, no response, no follow show until the game is done. Residents have flagged that Jenna's meeting minutes are missing, as well as are not converted to ADA compatibility. Those have been flagged in a contract that breaks the timelines for remediation, so not being remediated, no contact about it. I tried to reach Renee by email, phone, and everything, so basically not on at this point. I did text with somebody who responded today and said all that was no. So it's unfortunate because I do like Renee and CCMS and what they've done with us for years now, but I've also discussed this with SOPA, with Gary and Mark over at SOPA, and they have also had the same experience. And John mentioned it today, there's quite a few things that are outdated and inaccurate on the website, and so I can't continue with this vendor, so I'm asking that we go ahead and give them notice. And then we move forward with finding another vendor. Taylor believes he has a vendor that works with him, assuming.
Yeah, there's a couple that they want to pickle suites.
Yeah.
There's probably just comp.
Yeah, they're cheaper too. They're all responsible.
And we have a lot of custom stuff with CCMS, so on the pricing, obviously, it would be nice to take less, but I just want to caution, it's not an apples to apples comparison maybe, but the reality is SOPA and CDD are very clear on what our website requirements are. We have a website that we expect, it's not being maintained properly, the ADA compliance is not being followed. We need to make a change back. You guys are okay with that? Maybe we direct it back to
Motion to terminate, or you want me to do that? We have to,
I should, yeah. I mean, it's nothing, well, I don't know, you tell me, what is our issue with the fact that our website doesn't have the meeting minutes, agendas, and.
it's certainly an issue that we're trying to resolve this, and obviously our current vendor is not quite sure, so we need to get another vendor on board, so. I mean, again, unless you want to approve the other not to exceed, we can just wait till next month and approve it, terminate it at the same time, so it's our good.
There's no boundaries, we're just exposed to somebody.
Yeah.
But again, if it's something that we're working on, or someone doesn't need it, they can always contact with me.
He was supposed to be really close, so Eric said he was gonna have to.
He's been close and working for some time. And that's, and it's not only just the design, right? I mean, I could get over design and even some of the stuff, you know, John mentioned earlier today about all newsletters being out there, status of full. I can get past those types of minor stuff. The ADA stuff is really concerning me and I don't see a window out. And unfortunately, it's not responsive to any of us, and you know, a vendor can't act that way. So, so I would say let's wait, but I do like the idea of maybe going not to exceed the current contract amount, and then I can work with that to find some vendor in the meantime.
Yeah, so go ahead and terminate and look for new.
Yeah.
Well, I think the intent is, let's get that proposal, and once we got confirmed with that, the information here is.
But that way it wouldn't be the wait.
Exactly.
I'll second that. We're authorizing the chair to execute new agreement.
Right, and Josh will be ready. I think that was the point where here, the scope and back.
But Josh, what's the vendor actually do? Like, are you gonna stay on the same WordPress platform? Is the hosting? Or is it all?
They host it all,
So if you cancel it, does the site go away?
well, so what we just said is we're gonna find a new vendor and then issue cancellation to the current. So that way, the idea would be, we can do something else.
And the district retains the rights to the main matter.
Yeah, so there's nothing that they, I mean, we have the DNS control, so we can do that at any time in the event and the unfortunate situation would occur that they shut us off. You know, we're talking 24 or less than 24 hours. You know. I was literally about to get a free 30-day trial of Google, you know, I mean, there's mitigation, but email is probably the biggest thing that would hurt if that were to happen. Trace probably more for you. John, you a little bit, but it could be a period where we can be blacked out for two and the max. We get it.
You'll see us.
There's more trouble with this. I think you have it out as a labor law, and I don't think we ever really transitioned to a really business model.
Yeah, I don't think that was intended, you know, and after we knew that he was starting out, we wanted to get him to CDD business. And, you know, we knew that it was really, I think it's disappointing that we didn't evolve the website into what we wanted, you know, clubhouse ordering, you know, all the other sort of stuff, you know, it's really unfortunate. I don't see it's unfortunate, but you know, the costs were so prohibitive to move forward and make the site fully functional.
Well, it's interesting because the 11th DCA recently brought down the Nixie corporate. So originally the district court said that Nixie was open to the public and all the ADA arms were visible. So we need to see where that goes in the future.
Because two circuits now are now in the complex of Supreme with the one that all that. What is your feeling on that? Because obviously it's a private company versus us being public, so you feel like that.
I think it's certainly plays in our favor because again, between the public and private, it's not so much of the difference of visual platform versus the current platform. I think that analysis stays the same. It's more so for public entity. You have additional requirements on top of
But it could all ultimately only relate physical, which helps us out. Yeah.
But again, until the risk of litigation goes away, it's something you're arguing for.
That's applicable to both ADA and 500 compliance, or just ADA?
Believe there's ADA, but I mean. Yeah.
That's all I have.
Yes, oh, I'm sorry. All boards, clear that motion. Aye. Opposed? Carries. Yes,
Yeah, just one, with the refinance. Obviously, huge win, big news. Can you formulate a statement to get out on, like our social media channels?
I'm not an official channel. I would recommend that we make a comment proposal Friday.
But I think that's a big thing to share with the residents. And I know you need to be carefully worded because not everyone's getting it, et cetera, so, you know. Well, presenting, failure. And then you can get that to Teresa.
Yeah. All right.
Trickle down, I worry about. I want the official, here's what it really is. I don't want everybody to know that. Not yet.
Yeah. 3521. Grassland Place. 3521 Grassland Place.